to steal an opening, which I did last year, and I'll do it again this year. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we're live. Welcome to Invictuscon 2021. My name is Jason Griffin, and this is Fiasco at the Manna Hotel. Very honored and very proud that this is the very first community game that's being run at Invictuscon 2021. So, gentlemen, we're setting the tone. So let's bring it and let's bring it strong. As I said before, my name is Jason Griffin. With me is Alexei Ozerov, Collin Burkhart, and Ilkka. Hello. I don't know your last name, but I know you're Ilkka. I know you better syntax and we're going to do Fiasco. For those who don't know, Fiasco is a collaborative storytelling game. When I say collaborative, it's not cooperative. We're all in this for ourselves in this game. Let's make that abundantly clear. But it's collaborative because we're going to work together to create a story. We'll sort of explain rules and things as we go along, but first there's some business matters to discuss. According to Invictuscon 2021, I want to get into the safety protocol first. Because this is a storytelling game, well, let me back up first. We are an 18-plus game. There may be naughty words. There may be cursing. There may be some violence. There may be some blood. There may be some dives and depths into the occult and supernatural. And there may just be happy, fluffy puppies. We don't know. And we won't know until the story goes. I can tell you some of the elements before the game. There's murder. There's definitely crime. It does involve violence towards a woman. So if these are any sort of triggers or touchstones for you, please don't watch, because that's going to be, I think, one of the big themings in the game. So I know to at least a couple of the characters. So again, if those are sensitive triggers, we won't take offense. Don't watch, don't tune in. Just go ahead and hop off now, and it's fine. Since we designed the story as we go, there may be more, but we won't know until the story goes. To help, if it should trigger for any player, we are using the safety form of an X card. If ever we get on a subject that's uncomfortable or that's sensitive, just hold this up. We'll stop the scene, we'll talk about it, and we'll find a different way to get to where we need to go in the scene. So just keep those X cards handy. Everybody has one, I think, except for Collin, and Collin said he'll just give us a arms crossed or something like that to let us know, hey, stop it, and we'll go from there. Respect and non-harassment. They said it in opening ceremonies, and we were asked to repeat it as well. Invictuscon has a zero tolerance policy for disrespect and for harassment or anything like that. If something like that happens, I'll go ahead and stop the scene, and we'll ask the person who committed the offense to leave, and if we have to, we'll bring in Harlan and Joe or Bobby or something like that. But I don't think that's going to be necessary. We've done a lot of setup and a lot of chat and Discord beforehand. I think we're all looking forward to this, and everything will be great. So, yeah. Any questions? Exactly. So, anybody with any final questions before we start, or are we ready to dive in? The setting, Fiasco, we're going to tell a story, and it's going to end very poorly for us. It's set in 1958 in Manna, Kansas at the Manna Hotel. I'm going to let what's going on and specifics like that come out in the story. I don't want to spoil anything. And with that, I think I'm ready to dive right in. Unless anybody has anything else before we start. Okay. Well, we set up before. Fiasco is told in a scene order, and we're each going to go around and take turns in a scene. And Ilkka, you were the first person for the pick, and you have our first scene. So, to start, would you like to set up the scene, or would you like to resolve the outcome?
I'd like to set up a scene.
Okay.
And the thing that I'm gonna have is I'm gonna be at my room in the hotel.
Okay.
And I'm gonna have Alexei come in, not in my room, but he's gonna come in to the hotel, and that's about it.
Okay. Well, gentlemen, take it away.
Right. So Herbert or Herb is a scrawny guy in his 30s, early 30s, kind of a awkward-looking guy with some pock marks in his face, acne scar. He's hunched over. He's looking something at a table. he's turning it. He's trying to see how to get it to work like he wants. And yes, now he starts to find it. He's playing records, but he's playing records backwards. He's been setting up turning the needle, and he has an LP. He's getting it running, and it says yep, and he's taking his notebook and he's writing, help me, help me, I am in hell. And he puts down the notebook and stares at the window for a little while. And then there's a car coming in, and there's someone he knows steps out of the car. And I'll let Alexei take it from there.
Absolutely. You see a person step out of the car. They're dressed a bit warm for the weather. They take out a packet of cigarettes because they know not the value of their own health, and they start to smoke outside briefly while looking at the hotel a little bit, with a bit of emptiness in their eyes, I would say. As they come to finishing their cigarettes, they, do as the people who know how cigarettes work do, and put it out and carry it with them until an ashtray to not litter. And enter the hotel. You see them coming up to the front desk, and they ask a question about their room. The only important thing I think that the viewers would catch from this scene is the name Leland Blackburn. As they head to their room, you see them pause a little bit in the hallway. They haven't gotten to their room yet, and there's something that seems to be bugging them. There's a bit of a hole in the wall, I think, as we see coming up to this room, and their hand, shaking a little bit, goes to the doorknob and tries to open this door to get into this room. I would ask, is this door unlocked? Is this something I have narrative control to say?
You have complete narrative control over it, unless Ilkka steps in and goes no, because it's his scene technically at the end of the day.
Yep. No, the door can be open.
Fantastic. I think maybe the lock was damaged after whatever went on here happened. And I slip in, and I think what you hear from the other room, maybe in a pause between your record running, is you hear this cracking of a floorboard coming quite loudly from, I guess, the room next door to you.
And this is where Herbert stops his record. He's listening intently. He goes next to the door, next to the wall. He takes out a glass and he places it against his ear. He's listening in, and then he goes and takes a peek. He has taken a room next door, and he had his reasons to take this room in particular. There's a little hole in the wall, and he looks intently, trying to see Leland.
Leland, whose hair is still quite dark, is... There will be context for this later, I promise.
No, all good.
You see them hunched over on their knees in the middle of the floor. This room is... I mean, it's in a complete and utter disarray. I think anyone who stayed here knows what happened here. It's a horrifying thing that I think Leland doesn't want to describe in the third person. But they're bent over, and you see that they've pried open one of the floorboards in this room, and their hands are in. They're clutching something. They're putting it into... They're just very quickly trying to stuff it into their suit jacket. And as they're getting up, you see them pause for a moment, almost in a, I guess, revelry is the word. And you see them clutch at their head a little bit, and they they start to, like, very strangely. I don't know how dancing works. I stepped on Jessica's feet when we practiced for the wedding. It was quite embarrassing.
That's okay. It's great. You did great.
But yeah, they start to dance around the room, and they're muttering something very quietly under their breath. And I think you mentioned you had a glass or something like that.
Yeah.
I think you hear them muttering, and they're like almost stuttering the words. Out of the mist, your voice is calling. 'Tis twilight. And they open up their eyes for a moment, sort of shaking their head, and they see, I think, your eyes lock as they're staring at the wall. Maybe not right away. They're looking at the wall. Maybe you pause. Maybe you move away. I mean, it's entirely up to you what you do.
Oh yeah. Herb, when he sees Leland turn towards him, quickly moves away, and he's biting his fingernails. He's looking left and right, and he slips out. He slips out of his room and hurries out.
I think after a moment you hear the door slamming from this room, as if Leland is trying to get out of there very quickly.
Okay. Is that scene? I think that's a great ending point to the scene. Wow, you guys kicked it off proper. So now, Alexei, Collin, and we have to decide, did that end well for Ilkka or poorly for Ilkka? And it's all subjective, so it's completely up to us. Now, me personally, I'll lead off sort of the discussion if everybody's okay with that. I think it ended poorly from Ilkka, just from the standpoint of he wanted to clearly know or spy something, but I don't think he wanted that, and I don't think he wanted any of that. So I would say that would be a dark dice. However, people can argue that or argue the point or add further, whatever we want to do at this point. But I vote dark at this point.
I think his character is trying to discover something related to what happened at this hotel. I think that's at least what I get from that. So I feel like if he wanted to know something about what happened, that might give you a big clue.
So you vote light.
I think, I'm going to vote light. Yeah.
Alexei, you're the tiebreaker, and that's completely okay. And by the way, Alexei, thumbs up. Ilkka, thumbs up. Awesome job.
I'm glad. You know what? I think I'm feeling swayed by Collin's argument, because you're already with the record player listening to it move backwards. I think
so creepy, so good, so good.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so I think I'm as well thinking it is a light dice.
Okay, so Ilkka, you'd get a light dice. If this was a second act, you'd keep it, but because it's a first act, you have to give it away to somebody. So who would you like to give the light dice to?
Okay, in this case, there's no clear reason to give it to Alexei, because that was quite a dark scene.
That was.
So I'm just gonna choose between you two. I'm gonna give it to Collin.
All right, so Collin has a light dice. That's good. All right.
And so I can use it just whenever, or
no. So the light dice is just used for the end of the game, and to determine in the middle of the game between acts 1 and 2, who's going to determine what horrible event is going to spark our roller coaster down the hill, so to speak. So, all right.
Okay.
Which brings us to Collin. It is your scene. So would you like to set up the scene, or would you like to resolve the scene?
Resolve the last scene?
No, resolve your scene that you're about to do. So you can either say, hey, I'm going to get a dark dice or a light dice. I'm going to pick which one I get. Or you can say, I'm going to set up and control everything that goes into the scene.
I think I'm going to set this one up.
Okay. Fantastic.
So maybe perhaps around the same time that what we just witnessed is happening, or at least very close to that, there is another car that pulls up outside. I don't know 50s cars very well, but it would probably be a black car that pulls up outside of the parking lot of the Manna Hotel. And we see a man in his early 30s step out, dark brown hair, and like a not very well dressed. So he's more or less like as casual as you could possibly get without being a 50s greaser. So he's got like a black jacket on and a like maybe just a white shirt underneath, and that's about it. As far as like his main outfit, I suppose like he's got like jeans on as well. Probably he's very laid back sort of person, and he immediately steps out of his car and makes his way to the front door without really like giving much context. And he walks into the person at the front desk, like looking around as though he's expecting someone, or he thinks he's expecting someone. And he walks over to this desk person. I think I need someone to be the desk person for me if they would step in.
Sure, I'll go ahead and do it. An older gentleman in his 50s, wearing a tank top. While there's air conditioning, which is one of the big featured, items of the. Here you go, Ilkka, by the way. One of the big featured items is air conditioning at the hotel. There's no air conditioning in the office. The door is open, so it's hot. It's sticky. He's wearing a t-shirt, sweat stains over it, with the old-fashioned register that's split open. There's a black and white TV with the rabbit ears. It's static. Occasionally, the flame flickers out. He's getting his best reception as he can. He was watching it until he walks in and, hello, welcome to the world-famous Manna Hotel. My name's George. How can I help you tonight?
I'm looking for someone. I think he's dressed. Hang on, I actually had to look. He's dressed leather jacket and gloves. I think that's all I really know. Do you happen to know if this person is staying at this hotel? And the man seems sort of like frantic as he's trying to like remember what the person was wearing, but he can't give much more than just that, as that's all he seems to know. He says, "Do you know someone like that?"
I'll be honest. Yeah, we had a couple people in here. Gosh, a few days ago. A couple of bikers came in. But nothing really exceptional. They came in, they rolled out. Yeah. But I don't think anyone staying here meets their description, and no offense, close to the description, well, and he kind of looks at you up and down at what you're wearing like, you're about the closest one. I'm sorry. I wish it could be more of a help. Do you need a room?
Yeah, I think a room would be all right.
All right.
At least for the time being. But how many are open?
There's currently 4 vacancies right now. We'll set you up in room number 10. No, not room 10. Sorry, room 10. There's an issue. It's currently under maintenance. He looks very nervous and very flustered as that. He turns back. We'll put you in room 6. How about that? Room 6.
All right. I'll take room 6.
All right. $5.25, please. And please sign the register.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he takes out his wallet and he quickly puts down the cash and signs as well.
What name is signed?
That's the thing. He doesn't know his name. So what he ends up signing is probably just the first name that comes to mind.
Which is
John Doe.
I was say John Smith or John Doe, yeah.
Yeah, he'd probably just sign something like John Smith.
John Smith.
Until he knows for sure.
All right. Mr. Smith, I don't mean to be presumptuous, but well, I've seen this and I just need to say something. Are we having company this evening? And he's looking at your hand to see if there's a wedding ring or anything like that.
I mean, if there was one, he wouldn't know why he was wearing it. So he just shakes his head. I don't think we see one anyway because he is sort of just keeping his hands constantly in his pockets as much as he possibly can.
All right.
And he says, no company, it'll just be me.
Very good. Well, if I see, feel free to stop back by if you want. If I see anybody meeting that description, yeah, I'll definitely let you know. And enjoy your stay. And he slides the key towards you, gives you sort of a good up and down look, like he's remembering what you look like. He's taking note that this is what it is.
Mm. Yeah, and he quickly grabs the key. It sticks into his pocket, and hands in either side. Like you mentioned, it's hot in here, but he wears a coat anyway. Much like Alexei's character, he is overdressed for the weather, and he quickly heads up to to room 10, actually.
Oh, okay. Now, room 10 was the room we saw Alexei come out of earlier, for the record. So, and Ilkka, you can be in 9 or 11, whichever one you would rather be in at that point. Just make claim to it at some point later.
I'll take 11.
I think maybe as he gets up to that room, he might hear the banging on the door, perhaps from the end of the last scene.
Okay.
So maybe that's prefaced with now we've come back to the present, sort of thing. And I think he would definitely try and listen as well, since he's definitely expecting this room to be empty, is what he was thinking.
Okay.
So he would put an ear to the door, and I guess I'll have to ask Alexei what he hears.
Oh, sure. If it's maybe slightly later, just so I give you a different piece of information to have as from the previous scene. Maybe at the point where in the last scene where the weird creepy air dance had finished with those lyrics that I really shouldn't have put away on the other monitor had stopped.
I can help you with them. I got them down. So
fantastic.
Nice.
Sorry, I'm writing slowly.
That's okay.
You hear him. You hear a muttering coming from inside. You hear, no. I didn't do it. How? I gotta get out of here. I gotta get rid of him. I gotta. There's a dumpster out back. I can dump them there. They won't know. And you hear the door open.
He immediately goes to the side of the door that's behind it. So if it opens out, He gets behind the door like this.
It does open out. Absolutely, it opens out. Of course, it opens out. Why wouldn't it open out, right? So
it's the only way it could be.
Only way it could be.
And you see my character start to rush out down the hallway. Trying to get to the back door of this hotel. And I think that the last thing I will say, if it's all right, in your scene, is you see that there's this patch of white on the back of my hair. Yeah.
And I suppose from back there, the man who signed is John Smith, sort of just watching behind the door, and then peering into the room, is more or less unsurprised at what he sees. And I think that's what we'll call the scene.
Okay. Fantastic. All right, so discussion. Does Collin get a light dice or a dark dice? I'd say light for sure, because I think he came looking for stuff and he got some answers as well. So I would say Collin gets a light.
And he didn't get busted. That for sure. If Alexei would have seen him, that would have been a different story.
I agree 1,000%.
So
Alexei,
I would go with light as well. But
yep, I think yes.
Okay.
I would agree.
So Collin, the light dice is yours. However, first act you have to give it away. Who would you like to give the light dice to?
I think I'm going to give it to you, Jason.
Oh, thank you. All right.
Because of you're helping me out in that beginning of that scene.
All right. Fantastic. I'll take it. Okay, so the current count I have, Collin has a white dice and Jason has a white dice. So And we are up to Alexei's scene. So
Mm.
you have been featured today, sir. I like it.
I'm sorry about it.
No. All good. I'm glad I'm coming on later after the fact. I kind of picked the last position for a reason, is to let this sort of happen. So it's great. So Alexei, would you like to set up the scene or resolve the scene?
Could I have a slightly odd request for this,
Absolutely,
actually?
yeah.
Could I set up the scene, but have somebody interject when they feel the moment is right? I'd like to describe my character trying to get rid of something, but I'd love for them to be interrupted in a very awkward and inconvenient way once that happens.
I tell you what, when you want the interjection to happen, why don't you just stop your scene there and say, scene, and then we can jump.
Okay.
Because if it's all right, I would maybe like to be the one to awkwardly interrupt you and everything like that.
Yes, exactly.
You
yeah.
call scene and then jump in, or we can just agree to it now. I'll jump in at a certain point, and then we can go from there.
Yeah. Whichever works best for you. I'm fully happy if you just want to take over whenever.
Great. Okay. Sounds
all
good.
You see Leland rushing out. Continuity-wise, it's right there to where the last scene left off. They're rushing towards the back door of this hotel. They've stayed here a few days, I think. They had to go out to pick a few things up from one of the local stores that are around in their very beaten-up old car that's sitting out back. They rush out the back door, they push it open, and the sunlight blinds them for a moment. And they start to realize, like, wow, this was a bad decision to come dressed like this to Kansas, of all places. Such foolishness. And you see them, their eyes, they dart around. They're looking for the dumpsters that, usually are situated out back. And they rush up, opening the lid, and they're looking left and right, just terrified that somebody is going to see what they're doing. And with shaking hands, they pull out of their... They had like quite a bit of a bulge here in their like old ass jacket, and they pull out this bundle of clothing, and they unwrap it. It's in this stained, like dirty, caked, I'd say brown at this point, but like reddish brown cloth, and they take... And their hands are just shaking absolutely. They're terrified. They take a pair of gloves out of this bundle. They look around, and they dump them as quickly as they can into this bin. And then they look into the rest of the bundle, and they throw it as well without taking it out to the camera to see. And it's almost as if a weight, like a cinder block, is lifted from their chest as they are able to do this. In all honesty, as a player, that is all I really wanted to accomplish, to say that there are items in here for somebody to be interested in. I have.
So, if it's all right, so let's just go ahead and stop the scene there. We'll go ahead and vote and give the dice, and I'm going to pick it up, but I'll need you for immediately on the scene for sure. So, that's I would actually even say in this case I think a light dice, because he accomplished what he wanted to accomplish. It may not be the smartest place in the world to put stuff, but he doesn't know there's anybody else out there. He wanted to get rid of this, but
so yeah, for the immediate moment.
But we could also just throw out our first dark too, because he left it in a pretty obvious spot where something could be found.
I mean, it is about to come back to bite him, and that is the idea. So I can see either way working out.
Yeah, it's basically good up until now, but it is just building up to a disaster. So it's tough to say whether we're anticipating here and giving a dark die based on that.
So we have dark. Collin,
Yeah,
I think you're the tiebreaker
dark.
again.
I think I'll go with dark as
Dark.
to keep the consensus there.
All right. So, Alexei, you have a dark dice, but since it's the first act, you give it away. So, who would you like to give the dark dice to?
Gosh, you're all so nice. I actually don't want to give it to anyone. Can I keep it?
Not the first act. No.
Okay.
Gotta give it away. And it's okay.
Sure.
There's no harm. Again, it's when you get conflicting dice where it's problematic. If you get all dark dice, more than likely it's going to end bad for you. But there's a chance it could be great for you. So there's no harm in that.
Totally fair. You know what? I think the quality of your record player is not the highest. It's slightly scratching the records because the weighting is off on the end. And for this sin, I'm going to give this dice to you. I'm so sorry.
Ilkka gets a dark die.
Here.
Okay.
It's the only.
So I'm up. I'm going to set up the scene. The scene is literally Alexei has just. I'm sorry. Let me get the name correct. Leland has just dumped everything into the dumpster. Sort of breathes a sigh of relief. Takes a couple steps. He's about 5 steps away from the dumpster. When from out of the shadows, like in the darkness of the overhang, it's at the back of the hotel, as you had mentioned. So of course there's an overhang. It's kind of hitting that twilight nighttime. Somebody was waiting in the shadows very still and had blended in nicely. You get a couple of steps when all of a sudden, much to your way, you hear the click open of a Zippo lighter.
Ooh.
Flicks open, and much like Leland, Agent Copper Forrest of the FBI brings a cigarette to his mouth, lights it, snaps the Zippo close, and puts it in his pocket.
The closest I have.
His face lights for a second, and Leland's and Copper's eyes meet. Copper's eyes narrow slightly. He takes a drag on his cigarette, inhales in, exhales, and as he does, almost a rapture sort of crosses his face. You can tell these are sort of the moments that he probably lives for, and he is in this moment absolutely thrilled with what has just happened and what's just transpired. He steps out in the light, reaches into his coat, and produces a badge. Excuse me, sir? Agent Cooper Forrest, FBI. I'm sorry, Copper Forrest. I said Cooper. Copper Forrest. It's
darn.
Copper. Yeah, no. Well, I wanted it a little different anyway.
No, understood.
Yeah. So, that was you all right? You looked a little nervous there. Everything okay?
And as you're looking at him, I mean, this person looks a little weird. They're in their 30s, but almost like I don't know how to do hair dye, or else I would totally. But yeah, a bit of their hair is just like turning white from horrible stress, or I mean, you're not even sure. And they look to you entirely shocked, and they start shaking their head for a moment, and then they turn it into a nod, and they're like, no, it's there's no problem at all here. There's nothing wrong. I found something in my room that didn't belong to me, and I wanted to put it out. That's all. No, there's nothing wrong at all, officer.
Copper walks forward. Copper, much like the player playing him, he's a younger man. He's in his mid-20s, 26, 27, somewhere in that park, starting to get in the older 20s. He goes, oh, sir. He puts his hand up, and he rests his hands on your shoulder. It's okay. It's okay. Everything's fine. Do you smoke? Would you like a cigarette?
And you see his pupils, I don't know, do the thing that people who miss nicotine's nice release do. That happens, and they nod enthusiastically. Yes.
Winston, okay?
Yeah, much more expensive than I can afford. So.
Oh,
yep.
It's quite all right. And he kind of shakes the not the carton, the pack to get one up to the front and offers it out to you.
His fingers are shaking, but he takes it and puts it in his mouth and tries to reach into his.
Oh no! He produces his Zippo in the cool flip trick, lights it, and just kind of extends the cigarette, snaps the lid closed,
Wow.
and puts it back in the. It's all right. I know the stress of travel. It's a pain. I can't tell you. And he takes a good hard look. I've come from Virginia, and he takes a drag to New York. Takes another drag to here, and I get it. What's your name, sir?
You see him considering for a moment, I think. And you know what? Actually, may I ask you? Could I describe something really quickly that
Absolutely.
might answer this question? Maybe when he was fumbling in his coat jacket right before you brought up your Zippo with your wonderful dexterity, maybe his wallet fell out and it was opened on the ground where you could see his ID. And I mean, your eyes, you
Oh,
don't
sure.
miss
Okay,
a thing.
that's great.
Gosh.
Then we'll retcon that. Rather than me ask you, I'll pick
Okay.
up. I'll take a look at the ID. I'll bend down.
Hmm.
Oh, it's all right. It's all right. Again, I get it. Travel. So, Mr. And is your ID Blackburn?
Yes,
Okay.
it is.
So, Mr. Blackburn, it's a pleasure to meet you.
And he tries. He like extends a hand that's just still shaking. Thinks better of it, but then you probably grab it. But
Yeah. Oh, actually, no. I let you grab a chair. Hey, it's okay. Listen, I'm not here in an official capacity. I'm not here. I know talking to FBI can be a little intimidating. J. Edgar, I know he sets people on tilt. Believe me, I know this. But it's okay. It's all right. No, it's just it's everything's okay. Everything's fine. Staying here at the hotel?
yes, I came. I came just a few days ago, but it looks like my stay's been extended. I was just on business. I was just passing through, but it seems like might be delayed a little bit. I might have to stay here a little longer than I want, but I really must get.
So, for some expediency sake,
Yes.
at this point, after you say you've been there for a few days, he reaches back into his coat. He goes to the other side, and for the first time, Alexei, you see the gun in the shoulder harness that
Mhm.
he has. And even though he's not here in an official capacity, he's still armed. He produces
Yeah.
a small notebook and he flips it up and he clicks on a pen. A few days ago, would that be about 3 or 4 days, or 1 or 2 days?
3 or 4.
3 or 4. Okay.
Yes.
So you were here for the big to-do then, weren't you? You know, a murder happened here.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I had heard. I heard. Yes, the concierge. They tried to hush it up, but no,
And I'm guessing the cops, I know local PD has been here and did all that. Interesting.
They've been here. I heard there was a group of bikers, something like this, that left. No, not a trace. Horrible.
Interesting. He makes a note down. What room are you staying in, sir?
Room number 7.
Number 7. Okay. I'd love to talk to you a little later more just to see what you did that night. I can see you're a little bothered right now, and I don't want to, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I'd love to circle back and maybe talk to you a little later if that's all right. Don't worry, I'm not in here in an official capacity in this, but if I could get some more information, maybe I could pass it on to the local PD and, just give them at least a little update. But, why don't you go to your room, get yourself a drink. I know travel and these events, I get why someone would be rattled. Totally understand. So, sir, just go about your way. And if it's all right, I'll be by maybe a little later tonight. We can have some words.
He nods quite a few times, and I think the hand is still shaking, tries to exit as quickly as possible.
And as you turn and walk away, from behind you, you hear, "Heavenly shades of night are falling. It's twilight time. Out of the mist I hear you calling." Fnap! And he purposely sort of fnaps the notebook in such a way to be stopped and tucks it in his pocket. "Take care,
Wow.
sir." And he turns and walks the other direction as they both get off. And I will call that scene.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. Just wonderful.
That was Ominous. I like that.
So
I'm gonna go with the light die here.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you definitely would have earned the light dice from that.
Yeah,
scene.
that's
Yep.
I feel
Oh,
like
yeah. 100%.
Agent Forrest definitely found out what he wanted to know about this character
yeah.
in this conversation.
I had a completely different second scene in mind, but I think it may change because I'm about to go dumpster diving, I think.
Oh no.
So we'll do that. I am going to give the light die, even though to poor Alexei, because I think he's going to wind in a whole heap of bad as this goes. So let's just give him a light dice to sort of counterbalance. So at this point, everybody has one dice. Alexei, Collin, and I have a light die, and Ilkka, you have a dark die at the moment. Okay, so that's where we stand, and we circle back to Ilkka. It is your scene, sir. Again, as far as scenes go, you're welcome to time jump. You can always go back in time. You can go forward in time. You can do anything. Would you like to set up the scene, or would you like to resolve the scene?
I'd like to try resolving the scene, just to see. I would want something that ends in a dark note here, because we've been giving out a lot of these light dice.
Absolutely. So, all right. So the scene's going to end dark for you. So it's up to the three of us to set up the scene. I think maybe, especially because you want it to earn bad. I don't know if Herbert knows exactly what happened in that room. Since we now know the door is open and people can come and go, maybe Herbert goes into the room to sort of look around, and then somebody else can come confront him in the room. So he's sort of at the crime scene, snooping around, and go from there. And
if I may interject, I think it would be interesting if he goes out and in while he finds John Smith looking through the room. Because I think that would be very interesting. Either way, one of them being already there, like we could go through and have it to where he finds him, unless you would rather have it be the other way around. It depends on what time he wants to actually have Herbert go into the room. But I think it'd be interesting to have him walk in on me as well.
I'm all about that. I think that's a great idea. Alexei, are you okay with that?
Entirely.
All right. So the scene is you're going to go in the room you've left the peephole, obviously. You've turned and aren't expecting to find anybody in the room, but there is going to be somebody in the room as you entered. So, gentlemen, take it away.
Right, so Herbert has been out for a little while. He's been doing his rounds, just taking a little air. He's thinking about Leland, thinking about things that happened 20 years back. They know each other. He can't get Leland out of his head. He goes back. He has his hand in his pocket. He's fondling something. He goes back to his room. He tries looking at the glass again. He presses it against the wall. Nothing. He doesn't hear anything. Slowly he takes a peek and looks in the room. He can't see anyone there. So he goes back to the corridor. He touches the doorknob, and with his other hand in his pocket, he's now nervously touching the other object. And he opens the door, he steps in, closes the door behind him, and takes a look around. He whispers, "Talk to me, talk to me." He goes and touches the floorboards where Leland was, and he says, "Did you leave something? Is there a trace of you? Talk to me, June. Talk to me." And he pulls out a little bracelet that he has in his pocket. It's obviously jewelry. It's not for a man. It's something that he's found somewhere. How he has it, we don't know. He's touching them like prayer beads. He's listening to something that only he hears. And then, so is John coming in, or am I stepping it first out?
I think maybe at this point, I don't know if this hotel room might have like a bathroom off to one side.
Absolutely.
Maybe
of course
you
it
like
does. Why wouldn't it have a bathroom?
Yeah, I think you maybe wander in, and around that time you hear like a noise suddenly come from like the bathroom door, which is slightly ajar. Maybe like you hear a cabinet open, or it's like slam open, like loudly, like almost like it jars you from whatever you were trying to think to yourself, and you might hear like a muttering of saying, "There's got to be something in here that leads me somewhere on this."
And Herbert's completely frozen for 2-3 seconds. He looks around and he crawls under the bed and he tries not to breathe.
Mm-hmm. I think shortly after that he says, "No, nothing in here," and he comes back out into the main room and he like looks around, seeing that he's alone still. He says, "Figure out the man in the dream. It must have been." And he goes over to like the bed. He stands like right at the edge. You could like see where he's standing, and you see he's like. Yeah, I mean, this is the 1950s, so DNA evidence be damned. He starts like messing with the covers, as though he's trying to look for any sort of object or something that could tie to this. And he says, "Whoever that woman was, she must have left the gun in here somewhere, unless the cops already found it." And he's like digging around trying to find this firearm. And I think maybe when you're under the bed, you like look around and you notice that like fall into the floor, kick slightly under the bed next to you, is a small firearm.
Okay, that's when Herb looks at the gun and he slowly reaches out for it, takes it in his hands, and then in a really small voice says, please, sir, you have to leave."
Yeah, he like looks around as though he's trying to figure out where this came from. And I think he like immediately like takes a step back and he shakes his head and says, "No, I'm just imagining it." And then he quickly turns and like goes to the door. He checks something like at first, and then he leaves.
And Herbert slowly crawls out of under the bed, looks at the gun in his hands.
Like this blood-stained old, well, not relatively old firearm.
And since he's not really keen on guns or any of this, he just puts it in his pocket, goes outside, goes behind the hotel and drops it in there. And
So the dumpster has everything. Oh, this is great. I love this.
I mean, that depends on whether we decide whether this happened before or after.
True. That's very much true.
The agent dumpster dived.
Oh, I haven't dumpster dove yet, too. That's still that's my next scene is dumpster diving and some other stuff, which we'll get into.
So that's the thing is, I guess you've got to decide.
There's time. It's not me. We have to decide what's happening here. So yeah, that's the best part. Collaborative storytelling. Not one person's running the show here. We all come up and deal with things as they get in front of us together. But I'm sorry, Herbert, please continue.
Yes. No. Herbert's scene is about to stop. He goes in, takes his jacket, and leaves the hotel for somewhere.
Okay.
Ooh.
All right.
Cool.
Well, we know it ended dark, so we can just get into it. Who do you want to give the dark dice to?
Oh, this is.
It's still the first act, so this is your last scene in the first act.
I'm gonna give it to you, Jason.
All right, there we go. Let's put some disaster on my.
I want to see a mixed result on whatever is coming up.
It's gonna be bad for me. That's a good thing, though. All right, so we got that and that, which brings us to Collin. You are up, sir.
Yeah, I think
resolve or set up.
I think I'm going to set it up again.
Okay.
Because following his search of the room and unfortunately not finding what he was looking for, John here is very, almost worried that someone got to this first. And so what he's probably going to be doing is we'll see John rushing back down the hallway towards the lobby, I think. Because he's thinking, maybe the man or someone in this hotel knows about where the police took the body, and perhaps we see in the third person you hear him mutter that, and he heads back down to the lobby. And I'd like someone to actually be there, and I think I want it to be. I think I want the scene to be slightly ahead of your dumpster diving scene.
Okay.
I think this is a time jump a little bit.
Gotcha.
Because I want Agent Copper to be there.
Agent Forrest is technically it. He's Copper Forrest.
Yes, I know. I just realized that.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, exactly. Dale Cooper, but flip stuff around and get.
I know. That's why it's so hard.
I'm explaining for the who's at home, and then people who don't see Twin Peaks are going to go, what? And that's okay. It's good stuff. Okay, so this is past when my next scene would be. So if it's all right with everybody, I'm going to say that I have a large trash bag in my hand that's been tied off and set down and all that. So it's clear I've done something. But it's different from what Alexei had his stuff in. So clearly he got something and put stuff in the bag, for lack of a better term, and now has it sealed up in there. And when you come in, as long as you're okay with it, I'm talking to George and just, kind of confirming some facts. So he checked in, you said 4 days ago. That's correct? All right. And he told me he was in room number 6, I believe. Is that right? Okay. And, and was it 7, Alexei?
It is whatever you want it to be.
Okay. Well,
I think I was 6, he was 7. Yes.
That's what. Okay, because I have both of them written down. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know who's who. So, all right. So, and I say the wrong room, and he's corrected then to say in Alexei's room. Okay, all right. I'm sorry, in Leland's room. Okay, great. And that's when you come in, and there's one of those, the door's open, so the footsteps are heard. The agent holds up his finger, closes his notebook, puts it away, puts the pen away real quick, and so I'll just be staying for the couple of nights. Yeah.
Yeah, and seeing this, right around the time that you're talking to the receptionist, I think shortly after that, this man, as John was described before, the black jacket, white shirt, brown hair, hands in pockets almost all the time, walks over to the desk, and he says, "Oh, I'm sorry, am I interrupting something?"
No, not at all. How are you? And he reaches in his coat pocket, produces the badge. I'm Agent Forrest, FBI. And you are, sir?
John Smith, and he shakes your hand.
And
I think...
Yeah.
Or, I mean, he goes to shake your hand. And I
no,
think
he extends his hand. Yeah. Copper extended his hand at the saying.
And I think at that moment we both realized each other's purpose for being there, as our shared dreams sort of like flash in our memories, as though there's some sort of connection there, some sort of psychic connection, or perhaps just the latent ability that John possesses is somehow carried over. But both of us have a flash of the same vision that we saw, and we somehow know that we've seen the same thing. We're here for the same purpose or similar purpose. And John looks over and says, "You've seen the same dreams." And he quickly ushers to step away from George at the counter, so we won't be overheard.
Okay. Again, Copper just looks shocked, absolutely dumbfounded, mouth hanging open. Also, Mr. Smith, you also got a little bit extra. You got sort of something. We not only see where all Copper saw was just the scene that we know and love, which was the murder of June Alexander. You get a little bit of Copper, and you see there's a point where he's in the field. And he was it was a little more towards the late winter, kind of around the February time frame. There was a snowy field, and Copper has a pistol out, and he's like, "FBI, I said freeze! Give it up, Redding! Give it up! You're done! You're done! I know you killed her! You're done!" And with that, you see Redding go to say something, and without warning or provocation, Copper fires his revolver empty into Redding. He then stops, unloads the gun, dumps out all 6 bullets, reloads it, flicks it up, and fires a couple more into the not moving body at all of apparently this Redding person. He puts it away. And with that, Copper walks forward and just spits on the man and turns and leaves him lying in the field of snow.
Yeah, and I think from seeing that, he'd be a little bit like concerned, but John would try and like hide this concern immediately, because he has other pressing issues to deal with, and exploring this man's past is not immediately on his to-do list just yet. And he ushers him away from the desk to not be overheard, and he says, "You've seen the same dream."
How is this possible?
Did you
witness it?
Well, not physically, but am I wrong in assuming that you've seen it in your dreams as well? That's what brought you here. That's what brought me here.
I can't believe this. We had the same dream. We saw it. Did you see it through his eyes? Did you see it through the eyes of the killer?
Yeah. Yes, that's why I've been asking around. I've been trying to find someone who knows this man, but bikers came through a couple of days ago, according to, he looks over, the man at the counter. I haven't found anything else.
Come with me. And he literally grabs you by the arm and makes off, and he makes a beeline to room 10.
Mm-hmm.
He opens the door and throws it open. All right. I want to hear what you saw. I want to see if what we saw is really the same thing.
Yeah, he walks you through his exact dream. He describes the man in the black leather biker jacket and gloves.
And the gloves, right.
Had walked in.
And he had a box under his arm. Yes. He's carrying a box.
A portable record player.
Right.
That's right. He plugged it in to play it. As soon as the song had turned on, it woke her up. She knew him.
It was twilight time. The song was
Yes.
Twilight time.
As the song began to play, he tried to recite the lyrics, and
he didn't try. He recited them. He had them down.
He did. He produced a knife, I think.
He did.
Yeah.
But first, he closed the curtains, and he turns and he looks at the curtains.
Right.
The curtains are purple in their color, and almost timed perfectly with the music. The part of the song goes, when purple colored curtains mark the end of day, and he closed it with the marking motion. I'll hear you again at twilight time.
Yes, that's right. He attacked her. She had a firearm. She tried to defend herself.
She fired
But
first.
she did, but he pushed her arm back up to the ceiling, and he
That's
points to the ceiling where
Yep.
there are like 2 or 3 gunshots and bullet
Right,
holes.
and we both did it at the same time. There.
We,
And again,
we know
at
the
this
exact
point,
spot where they are.
eyes contact each other too, just for the moment of, okay, this is all right.
It's like a terrible case of deja vu, but I'm getting used to it more and more now.
Yeah.
I was looking for the gun. I had a feeling she dropped it when he stabbed her, but it's not here. So, I don't know. Do you know if the local police have been through here? Would they have taken it?
I don't think the police took it. And he opens up the trash bag at this point. He reaches his hand in. Well, correction. First thing he does is he pulls out a pair of latex gloves and
Yeah.
and he also pulls out a second pair and offers them to you.
Yeah, he hesitantly to take anything, but he quickly takes them and puts them on as fast as he can.
Reaches into the bag and produces a very old revolver, and this
is it.
This is it.
And he almost like he wants to hold this rather than anything else, but he hesitates as though he's afraid of what he's going to see, and he says, "No, I just need to hold it for a second."
Sure.
And he takes it, and I think he sees a vision of what brought June Alexander to the hotel.
Okay.
I think perhaps he sees that she was there, staying there maybe on some sort of business. Perhaps she was expecting someone.
Can I
interject
a little bit? I'm sorry, and I don't mean to step on your toes or your scene, but what you see with June Alexander, you see Agent Copper Forest.
Oh.
Is with her, and they check in together. When she goes to sign her name, he tells her, "Your name's June Alexander." June Alexander, and she signs June Alexander. Good.
Yeah, so I guess he realizes this, and when he comes back to the present, he looks to the agent and says, You told her name? You were with her.
Again, I don't know how you're doing this, but I think we were supposed to have met, and I think we were supposed to meet here. She was a material witness in a case. There was a man, a serial killer, wore a leather jacket and leather gloves. He carried a record player. Man's name was Frank Redding. He abused kid, horrible childhood. Grew up a monster for a reason, if you catch my drift. Drifted around from orphanage to orphanage, from group home to group home. Began killing for sport. But somewhere around middle school, it turned into something else. When he discovered his feelings and his emotion, it was a way of expressing love. Love for people he admired, and love for anyone. But the only way he could express it was through the kill. That's why it's always romantic music. Her real name was Annette Doyle. I had her check in under June Alexander to try and protect her as best I could here.
But he got to her anyway.
That's the thing. It wasn't him. I got to Reading first.
Are you saying that this is a sorry?
No, it's okay. It's all right. It's good. And he smiles and sort of kind of puts your hand on shoulder. It's good.
Yeah, he's extraordinarily nervous, and he says, Are you saying this was a copycat killer?"
I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying. I don't have enough to go on yet. I will say a big suspect landed in my lap just a couple of minutes ago, and I have some things here I have to run over to KCPD and maybe have them take a look at. I don't want to go into too much right now. I killed Reading. It couldn't have been Reading. And I made sure Reading was dead. While I was there turning in my report and had gone back to the FBI office, the KC FBI office, giving my deposition, this murder happened. It couldn't have been Reading.
But someone who knew him, maybe.
Someone who knew him had his exact MO.
Either that or we're dealing with some sort of ghost.
Ghost? I mean, come on.
And
Ghost.
although Agent Forrest laughs at this, I think John's expression is completely deadpan serious. Like, he absolutely believes that this is a possibility that he won't discount.
Okay. I'll tell you what. You can work on the supernatural theory. I'll try to do what I do best, which is to deal with the facts, to eliminate other suspects, to eliminate other possibilities till only one remains. Look, there's another girl here, Dana Anderson. She knew Annette Doyle / June Alexander. I'm really worried.
You think he's going to strike again?
I think he could.
Well, one of us should stay here, make sure she's all right. Well, if you're going to the police, perhaps I could check in on her, just to make sure she's okay.
I'll let her know you're coming. She's very nervous. She's locked away.
I wouldn't want to.
She's in room 12, the last room of the hotel.
Okay. I'll keep that in mind. And I think that should be seen.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it just sort of ends with them sort of, and he just tells him, "Hey, I'm glad you know too." He sort of nods. All right. Did that end well for Collin, or did that end poorly for Collin?
Alexei?
It feels well. He has made a friendship that is nice. Yeah. But I'm not sure I will listen to what you both have to say, and we'll see if it sways me.
I didn't see any reason for it to be dark.
I'm on board with that 100%. So yeah, I would say let's go light. All right. So Collin, you get a light die. Again, who would you like to give it to at this point?
I think for this scene, I'm going to give it to Ilkka, because I don't know if he has one yet.
He doesn't have one, and that balances him out too. So Ilkka and I are on the express train going to hell. All right, let's go, bud. Woo woo.
Woo-hoo.
That's it. Fantastic. So
You'll be the one in the record player voice saying, "I'm in hell." Oh no.
Oh, no. All right. Great. We're doing awesome on time. Okay, so Alexei, that brings us to your scene, sir. Would you like to resolve, or would you like to set up?
Oh gosh. I have an idea for a setup, but I would love to bring somebody in to have a scene of either confrontation or something that'll reveal a bit about the both of us. That is not yourself, Jason, just because I don't want to only to steal your time here.
No, it's okay.
Collin or Ilkka, would you either like to do a scene together if you have anything in mind that would be nice for the both of us?
See, Ilkka has dropped some breadcrumbs about you two know each other. I'd like some more of that to come out, if that's okay. Collin, not to say,
definitely. I can
Yeah, no, I
can come in and interrupt you in a surprising way.
That's fantastic. I have an idea for how the scene will resolve, or at least to give pause to both of us, if that's all right.
Sure.
Awesome. Just yeah. So
you are in complete control of the scene. You can say, well, this is going to happen, 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 and we just go accordingly. You're the director.
Yeah. Well, I think to leave off on the very cheery note of a light die, you see Leland. Well, I guess maybe not so cheery. Lying in the bed. He's sobbing entirely. This is shortly after the dumpster scene. He's crying his eyes out. There's like almost, the track of dry tears that hasn't been wiped up. And then in a moment, he just stops. He stops and he gets up. He walks over to his desk and he peels off one of like the complimentary, notepads that are lying around in these rooms. This one's like old and half used.
Of course they have complimentary notepads lying around.
How wouldn't they?
Why wouldn't they? Exactly.
He rips off the back and takes a pen that actually has a clicker on it and starts to write something on a piece of paper. Just for everyone. Oh, damn, that's going to be backwards. I just realized.
Oh, no, it was like, was the first word look? It looked like it was luck. Yeah, no.
How far facts got you? Yeah?
Yours is not backwards, I don't think.
Takes the note, folds it up, and he starts to smile to himself. He hasn't wiped off his face or anything, and he opens his door and heads down the hall, and he... if you'll allow it, Jason, I'd love for him to slip this under your door, but he has no idea which door you are in. Would it be possible to expedite him going and maybe looking through the guest book or asking the concierge?
We'll put him in room 1. So or actually, no, I'm sorry. She's in 12, 11, 10, 9. Is 9 open or is 9 yours? I think 9's open, so I would say 9.
I think it is. Yeah.
He'd be as close to Dana as possible, so a 9.
I think whistling to himself a tune whose melody I cannot reproduce accurately, he stoops over under the door and Ilkka, this is where you can find me as I slide this note under and stand up, straightening whatever.
Yeah, when you're getting up, you see someone familiar standing in front of you. You haven't seen Herb for years, and the two of you exchange a glance of recognition, but there's a bit of awkwardness there because of all this history that you don't really remember why you stopped talking to Herbie. You guys were friends sometime when you were like 10, 11, 12, but it's a little bit vague for you, and Herb just stands there with a little bit of an awkward smile, and he says, "Leland?"
There's a bit of a pause, I think, as Leland looks at you, his eyes still wide. There's a bit of a smile on his face, and you hear him very quietly say, "He knows him." And then he closes his eyes for a moment, opens them again, and he looks much sadder, and he says, Herbert, yes? Oh my... How many here... Looks around almost confused a little bit as to where he is. Just for a moment, like that he's in the hall. No, I mean, he knows he's in the hotel. And he says... sorry, Jessica has woken up, or I've woken her up. Sorry. He says, "My God, how many years has it been?"
17.
You've kept count. It looks like. My God, what are you doing here?
Oh, I'm staying here. Listen, can I get you a drink? I would sure love a drink.
He has like that ugly dry swallow sound that I don't have the gain to reproduce on my microphone, but yeah, he starts to nod and he says, I think that I could really use that right about now. I think a drink would be really nice. It's felt like the longest day I've had in
and he produces 2 bottles of beer just from somewhere, and there's a let me show you. There's a nice spot over there. I've been here for a little while, and he starts talking really like incessantly. He just starts babbling on, and he takes you to the other side, not the trash can side this time of the Manna Hotel, and sits on a little ledge over there, and
well, of course
just
they have benches out front. Why wouldn't they have benches out front? I mean,
Sure.
come on.
and he just cracks open the bottles of beer with his teeth. No, not a good idea, mind you.
Wow.
And passes one over to you, and you really haven't been listening to what he says. He's just babbling on for a couple of minutes, and then he says, "And you, Leland, how have you been? What's up with you?"
He like is nodding as you're saying this, and he reaches into his pocket and he takes out like a pack of really cheap cigarettes, offering you one.
Oh no, thanks. I stopped smoking. I had some. Well, yeah. It hasn't been a really good year for me. So I had to stop.
Mm-hmm. And lighting one up, he for himself, putting the rest of the pack back, he says, "You know, I think maybe it's something about this year. For maybe the both of us, it doesn't look like it's been that great. I've had some trouble with. Look, if I'm being frank, I've had some trouble with my memory. I feel like I'm missing something day to day. Not like I'm not forgetting anything. I'm the same. I hope I'm the same old Leland Blackburn, but it feels like there's something that slips by through the cracks, I don't know if you know what I mean.
I know what you mean. Listen, you remember when we used to go fishing and at the lake over there, and we used to talk about a lot of things, a lot of stuff there. There was about you remember that girl? What was her name again? The one that always was with you. The one with the hair, the hair.
He smiles, nodding, and says, "Yeah, I think. What was it? Laura, I think."
Must have been Laura. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Listen. I think I have someone you need to meet. Someone who might help you with your memory.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I wonder if I should just quit. Maybe it's the cigarettes. Maybe it's the drinking. He smiles at the bottle of beer, though. He says, "But I do appreciate this. I'll be honest. It's been I cannot tell you what kind of a week it's been, but it's nice getting to see you again after all these years. I know I haven't been the best of a friend or acquaintance. You seem to know exactly how long it's been. I seem to have forgotten and been caught up in life and just swept away like that river current further up on the lake." Wow, stretching for metaphors, that's not good. He looks down at down at the ground sort of, and silently sort of waiting for a cue from you, almost as to what to say, lost for words.
And Herb doesn't really reply to that. He mutters something to himself and then says, "We really need to catch up again, but I do need to rush." It's good seeing you, Leland.
He tries to actually take your hand, like to shake it.
And Herb's kind of like shifting away a little quickly, and then slowly he reaches out and takes your hand and says, "Yes, this is nice."
His hand
looks on both sides and.
As you look on both sides, I think very much so, unlike your description of nice, his hand is quite moist and clammy. And as he holds it, you feel his grip tighten a little bit. And he says, "Don't bother catching up. He won't be around for very long." And then I think the scene ends.
Okay. Well, I was all in the light category until that last moment. I'm gonna say that ended dark for Ilkka. So yeah, all the way up to the end. I was like, light. Oh, it's great. It's light. It's that. Nope, that just went. So my vote's dark.
Wasn't that Alexei's scene though?
Oh, was it Alexei's scene? Oh, I'm sorry. That's right. It was Alexei's scene. So, well then, but I would still say dark because I think he just tipped his hand a little bit, but.
I'm going to vote dark as well.
Okay. All right. So, Alexei, it's a dark. Who gets the dark die?
Is there anyone who has a deficit of them other than me?
Collin only has one white.
I'm the only one who doesn't have a dark die.
And Alexei doesn't yet either. Ironically enough, Alexei doesn't have a dark die. It's great, though.
This is not if this character is the only person who doesn't have a bad ending, this is not going to be a happy ending story.
It's a fiasco, exactly. It's a fiasco. Go figure.
Gosh. Collin, if it is all right, I will hand the die to you.
Good.
I hope I get one soon.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll sure.
Okay.
We'll be sure to make sure that happens.
So again, just to verify, everybody has a light die, and everybody but Alexei has a dark die. And that's where we stand at the moment. We have 9 dice left. This is the final scene, and then we'll go ahead and resolve our tilt, et cetera, et cetera. Just to give time update, it's 7:27. So I know we're going to kind of want to go and do lots of exposition, but keep in mind if we can chop some scenes, it's good so we make sure we have time, because the end's going to be much longer, and the ending process is a little more drawn out, which we'll get into when we cross that bridge. So I'm going to set up my scene. I'm going to start as just kind of montage. However, Alexei, I'm going to ask you, and I'm going to ask any PC. My first action is I'm flashing back to where we've just wrapped up our scene. I'm going to walk around to the front of the hotel, get a trash bag to put items into. Do you go back for anything? Does anybody want to get in that dumpster and pull anything as part of this montage?
You know what? I think
the only
there
thing
is.
Couldn't be is the revolver because that was clearly in the bag still. So.
Yeah, exactly. I was wondering whether Herb would actually go get the revolver back, and I think he sneaks back for it, and he nervously takes it and carries it somewhere else.
Oh, well, that was the one that was in the bag, though, right?
Yeah, I said the revolver was the only thing we couldn't get because that was in the bag because it came out in Collins and mine scene that the revolver was
true. Yeah, okay.
So that couldn't have been. Yeah. But anything else can be gone back and gotten, and that's why I just want to check before, because we haven't even defined what's in it yet. I just want to know was anything gotten back out of it and all that. So before we go.
I'd love to actually grab something if that's all right.
Sure, absolutely. You could have ran back and gotten something. Completely.
I think fantastic. Would you like to know what it is?
No.
Is it all right to say? Oh, okay. Cool.
It should come out. You should reveal it in your time and all that, because we don't know what it was at this point. All we see is you go back and get something, and that's fine.
Cool.
But there are still things that you left in the dumpster, yes?
Oh, yeah. Gosh, yeah. Of course.
Okay. Fantastic. Great. Awesome. All right. So montage scene, we see... Agent Forrest walk around to the very front side of the hotel. There's an old shed made up of rotted wood that's kind of half leaning and just kind of crooked. He walks through. There's a padlock, but the padlock has been like left open, so it's just sort of hanging on there. He pulls out the padlock, opens the shed. He walks in, and he's looking around, and trash bag, trash bag, trash bag. He looks kind of under, picks something up off the ground, looks at it. It's a 2-gallon can of gasoline, and just sort of sets it down on the side. Pulls up a trash bag, kind of circles around. But as he walks, he looks. And he just kind of cocks his head a little bit. And he reaches towards where it looks like a piece of plywood that's been nailed onto the wall for reinforcement. He just kind of straightens it a little. Gives a nod and turns and continues on his merry way. Montage, he goes into the dumpster. Everything that was left in the dumpster, including the pistol, that's the only real item we see. Everything else is just a bundle at this point. And he throws it all in the bag and sort of closes the bag up. We see the montage of then he meets Collin in the front. And then we time jump. We time jump to the front, and Herbert is going to be walking back to his room when Copper sort of comes around and sees him, and if it's all right, we'll just take it from there. Herb! And he gives away with a smile.
And Herb looks happy to see Copper. He walks to him and gives his hand, but does a weird handshake.
And the weird handshake ends with both of them putting their hands up on their head like this and going, It's good to see you, you old so-and-so. What are you doing here? Man, it's so great seeing you.
But of course I'm here. You haven't heard?
No. What?
There's been a murder.
Oh, I heard about that. You might say that's one of the reasons why I'm here, but
yeah, of course.
Of course. Hey, can I ask you a favor?
Sure. Tell me.
There's a young woman. She's in room 12. Her name's Dana.
Yes. I've seen her.
Okay. Just
and he looks a little bit like I've seen her and a little bit awkward and looks back.
It's okay. No, I don't. Listen, she's important. Can you just sort of keep an eye on her room? If anybody goes in there, if anybody talks to her, if you see her come out, can you just let me know?
Nobody has.
Okay.
Nobody has talked to her.
Oh, great! I should have known I would count on you already.
I'm in room 11. I'm next.
You're right next to her. Fantastic. Yeah. So do me a favor, just keep an eye on her and make sure she's safe.
Sure.
Again, if you see anybody come to her room, let me know. Especially there's a guy with some unusually gray hair. If he nice suit, dressed a little warmly for this time of year. His name's Leland. If he goes poking around that room, would you let me know?
Leland?
Yeah, Leland.
Leland Blackburn?
Yeah. How'd you know that?
Yeah, we I know him.
So he has a reason to be here.
Well, we grew up together. He's what do you need Leland for?
I just want to know if he goes by Dana's room, or if he notices Dana at all, or if he sees her. Just curious.
Sure. Is he a suspect?
I can't fully go into that, even for a brother. I just do me a favor. If you see him around the room, just let me know. That's all I'm asking. You don't need to stop him. You don't need to do anything.
Yes. For sure.
Way. Anybody who is here in the hotel around the time of the murder is technically a suspect, right? I mean,
yes. for sure.
Unless, of course, they're a brother.
Heck! I and the lodge.
Is safe. Don't worry.
Good.
Did you go in recently? Too? The board was crooked.
I had a few questions.
I understand. Believe me. And again, hand on the shoulder, smiles, Cox said, I understand.
I think I've I need to show you something, and
I tell you what, can it wait? I got some stuff here. I gotta run into the city for a couple minutes, but let's meet up later
sure.
and we can do that.
Sure.
He takes a couple of steps away. Besides, I'm thinking of maybe bringing Dana to the lodge. Maybe.
I would like that.
All right.
And do you need anything else?
Just let me know if Leland goes near the room.
Will do, brother.
All right. And with that, they turn and walk away. Scene.
Wow. I guess, other than the ominous connotations of bringing Dana to the lodge, I don't know if I would say that ended. You set it up, right? So we should.
I did. I don't get to decide.
I want to say that ended well, but I also don't want to say that ended well because of the. What do you guys think? I mean, as for Agent Forrest, I think it might have ended well, but
yeah, I guess, are we looking if it ended well for the person who has framed the scene?
Right.
I mean,
did that end well for Agent Forrest?
Yeah. I don't know enough about the lodge to. I only make assumptions based on,
That's fine.
I'm gonna. Yeah.
But he found a brother, so I don't know.
I mean, that's clearly a good thing for them. So I guess I would say that would have to be a light die. Yeah. I mean, that's my thoughts.
I think so too. Yeah.
Okay.
It's just a bummer, but yeah. So I was sort of hoping we get another dark die in here somewhere.
That's all right.
But we'll have to see. Yeah, I guess unless Ilkka has a different opinion.
No, it's really up to you guys because I think it has a lot to do whether or not it's a good idea to let me watch the girl.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, we don't know, do we?
We don't know, do we?
You have beer in your coat pockets, so
There you go.
I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, actually.
All right. But I still think we had 2 votes for a light die. And since Ilkka sort of kind of said, hey, whatever. I think that light die has to go to my brother. So, yeah, absolutely. So let's give Ilkka his second white dice. Okay. Which means, Ilkka, you are ahead in the light dice count. And Collin, which will remove you from the dark die debate because you're already going to be deciding one category. So, Collin, I'm going to let you pick ultimately a thing. So, Ilkka, we're going to decide the tilt at this point. What the tilt is going to describe the thing that's going to sort of set everything into motion. So, Ilkka, here are your choices. You may choose mayhem, tragedy, innocence, guilt, paranoia, or failure. What category would you like?
I'm gonna go with mayhem.
Mayhem. Collin, because you'll decide the dice, you'll set what the mayhem event is. An out-of-control rampage. A frantic chase. A dangerous animal, perhaps metaphorical, gets loose. Alexei, I'm looking at you. Magnificent self-destruction. Cold-blooded score settling, or misdirected passion?
So I have to pick one of those?
Pick one of those.
I think I'm going to go with what was it? What was the one that The dangerous animal gets loose. Yes, I think I'm going to go with
Dangerous
that one.
animal, perhaps metaphorical, gets loose. Okay. So
I
that
do have a
is
cat.
our tilt.
It was the cat.
There we go.
Yeah,
A crazy
it's
feral
just a
cat
dog
is going to come to the scene and be revealed as the killer. It's awesome. It's wonderful. It's great.
You know what? Actually, no, Leland has a pet raccoon. That's what it is.
There you go. Rabies. It was rabies all along.
Oh,
All right. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and just jump right into our second act. Now, in this point, going forward, if you get a dice, you keep it. And we can only give dice for the colors that remain. So out of these 8 scenes, there are only 3 good endings. There are 5 bad endings. So as you're acting, if you know you're going to gear yourself towards the dice, gear your scene to end poorly for you. It's okay. It's the whole point. At this point, violence can be enacted on one another's characters. However, the violence must be agreed upon, both in what happens in scope and what the after effect is. And if it's not 100% agreement, it does not happen. You have to get on the same page. You have to agree. If your character is killed for some reason, you are not out of the game. You will simply operate in flashback mode either way before the events or anything that happened during things. You can help sort of force the issue of what's going on. So far, out of all of our things we've had introduced, the only thing we haven't really explored fully yet is the weapon, the 2 gallons of gasoline, which was shown but hasn't come out. It has to be used as a weapon some point.
Oh, I think we all know that we're planning to use it in Act 2. Someone is going to grab that.
We'll see. Okay. And I didn't emphasize, I'm sorry, and at the end of my scene ended with my character getting in the car and driving away, heading to Kansas City to turn in the items that they saw. So, any questions before we dive into Act 2, or are we ready to go?
How should the tilt be enacted? Should it be immediately, or is it something that has happened prior to Act 2, or something that must happen during Act 2?
Think of it as that's the lighting the fuse event. Whatever's horrible, and ultimately, I hate to say it again, assuming with the cans of gasoline, that happening should be what's starting to bring the gas into play, and we'll go from there. So think of it as it's going to be the event that sparks the downward spiral of this story. So something's going to happen that's going to plunge this story into chaos and make things happen good or bad for us respectively. That event, the dangerous animal getting out, is going to be what sort of has it transpire. Okay. So again, we go back to the top, which is Ilkka. We start with you. And again, set up the scene, resolve the scene. Keep in mind, if you resolve, now you get a dice that you get to keep. So you can sort of steer your character a little bit. So.
I would rather set up the scene. The thing is, I am going to the lodge.
Okay.
I'm gonna go there, and I would like Collin to be my surprise answers. So he can be or give me whatever instructions I'm going to get. So
awesome.
Oh, so I play whoever you meet at the lodge then for this.
Yes.
Sort of.
Let's just say yes.
Or-
yes is the answer.
I guess I was just getting caught up for trying to think of. Okay.
Okay, so what happens is around maybe 2 a.m. Herb has been listening to his records again and again on backwards. He goes out. He takes another sip of another beer. He sets it down and looks around and sees no one at this hour. So he sneaks to the other side of the yard, goes to the shed where we saw Agent Copperforest earlier. He finds a little passageway or kind of a trapdoor that
It's
he
the
opens.
plywood that he straightened. So
Yeah.
the plywood that he straightened, that's what Herbert goes towards.
Yeah, and he descends down on like concrete steps that take him down to a little bunker, and there we have kind of a large space that seems to be built for a fallout shelter, but this seems to have been repurposed. It has a lot of occult paraphernalia all over, like signs on the walls, lots of drawings all over, little objects, candles. Herb lights a lot of those candles and walks towards this big floor space that has been painted as a huge Ouija board. And he says, "I'm here now." And he takes out the bracelet from his pocket. He puts it down on a space and he says, "Spirits, what should I do now?" And
Oh,
and he touches the board of the Ouija board and lets it give him an answer.
oh gosh. I think the board would actually tell him that Dana is in trouble. If that's okay with, I know Dana was the character that Jason introduced, but I think the board would tell him that Dana is in trouble. Something is imminently about to happen. You need to protect her. Does that sound all right?
Yeah,
It's great.
and Herb looks really afraid. And then he's about to leave. He goes back to the board and says, "Leland?" And tries to see an answer to his open question about Leland.
I think the board goes to yes.
This is the point where
can I interject something? Not to say on the answer. Let's just say I think it would say yes and no. Given
Like
the
it
story,
goes in between
both.
them?
It says yes and
Oh.
no. It says yes and then goes to no. And let's
yeah.
I like that better.
Well,
Yes.
there's the two big words on there for yes and no on the board. So you get an immediate answer of yes, and then it drifts to no, and Herb looks confused, but he just blows out the candles, rushes out to the back of the hotel, and starts digging for the revolver that he dumped earlier. And he just throws away all the trash, and he's like, it has to be here. And he looks confused. He's all smudged in covered in like oil and grease and well whatever he finds in the garbage. But then he looks really frustrated. And then he just grabs a piece of there's a piece of broken glass that he just wraps some fabric around it and puts it in his pocket and goes and knocks on the door 12.
All right.
At around 1:30 a.m. or so. So
Okay.
And I think that might be the scene
Great. Awesome. Very interesting. I like it a lot. All right. Good, bad, thumbs up, thumbs down. It's up to us to decide, and he's stuck with this one. So I almost want to give him a light dice just because that way we have more dark dice left for the rest of the story.
Yeah, I feel like we definitely just spread those around. So let's give him a light dice because that went well. He had the forewarning he needed. So I think he now knows what he needs to do. Light dice is what I choose.
Okay.
Yep. The wise ghostly voice or movement. It felt very wise, the movement. So I'm also with light dice.
Okay.
I think that's perfect.
All right.
Wonderful.
Collin, you are up, sir.
Okay. I think I want to pick up from where we were before. Like some time has passed, obviously,
Okay.
but I think John had at one point, like he knows he needs to check up on Dana because that's what he had said he was going to do to Agent Forrest.
Okay.
So he makes his way to room 12 as well.
Okay.
When he gets there, he notices that the door is ajar.
Ooh,
Perhaps
okay.
someone already is there, or maybe she's already left.
Okay.
And I'm going to say that this will end bad. This is a scene I want to resolve. I will preface that now. This will end badly for John in some capacity.
Okay. So then it's up to us to go ahead and sort of flesh out details. I have no problem keeping your setup. I thought that was great. So what do we want to do? Is she gone? Is there somebody in the room with her, or?
I'm going to say that there's not anyone in there yet, but there
we
will
get
be
to decide
very
it because if you're
soon.
picking the resolve, we sort of take control of the scene and we step in as
Never mind.
directors to the scene. But that's cool. So what do we think, gentlemen? Do we want somebody to be in there? Do we want her to be gone, or is her door just open?
I am up for whatever you all think of. Yeah, the only I'm trying to think of a good way for the tilt to start, and all I can think of is dousing myself in gasoline. And
Oh no! That's not a good way for the tilt to start. No, absolutely. To that end, to sort of bring out the tilt, the dangerous animal, I would say that maybe it is Leland in there, but it's not Leland in there talking to her. That Dana is maybe having a conversation with someone else, and with Leland, but Leland in his mode, and we'll leave it in Leland in his mode at that point.
Yeah,
But again,
I kinda
this
thought
is
something
social.
like that.
This is talking. This isn't
No,
next level and
absolutely.
all that. So
no, I'm trying to think of conversation starters that aren't. So have you heard that John Coltrane record?
so anyway, again, we're picking it up mid because Collin says he's
Sure.
getting there while the door's open. So you don't have to think about starters. You could be anywhere in the conversation or wrapping up the conversation or anything at that point. But I think that's the scene. I think the scene is Leland talking to Dana.
Sure. May I ask a question of Ilkka?
Yeah.
Would you mind telling me what tone you'd like this conversation to have, and I'll try and match that. Just
yeah. This would be a little bit of a like an intense wrist holding, stop you're hurting me kind of a conversation.
Oh.
Okay.
Creepy stalker love vibe that starts
Yes.
across.
I will try. So,
Alright.
you see, if I may, you see the wrists of Leland. There, and he is holding the arms of this person. I guess the wrists, and he is actually the one saying, definitely not in his own voice, "Stop! You're hurting me." She's gone. There's nothing any of us can do about it. But she's gone now. And And that's how we're all going to end up. I'm trying to think of something.
I think that's great. So
Perfect.
that's what you
Sorry.
come into. Yeah, no, that I think that's solid. That set everything up. So, Mr. Smith, you have the floor.
Oh, yeah, I think, oh boy. Wandering into this, John, I think, realizes that Dana is in trouble, and he wants to try and do something about this, because he was told by Agent Forrest that, like, she's important. I think he said that to both of us. So he thinks, oh, I've got to do something, but I'm unarmed. What do I do? So as he sneaks in, he like pushes the door in just so he can get inside, relatively unheard, and he goes to attempt to like look around the room to like find something. Maybe he finds like a baseball bat in the corner or something.
Of course, there's a baseball bat in the corner. Why wouldn't there be a baseball bat in the corner? Exactly.
Like it's tucked away behind the door, so that way anyone in the room could get at it. But she clearly didn't have time, so he like looks around. He sees this and he grabs the baseball bat, and he tries to like stealthily move up behind Leland, and he like he holds a finger up because Dana can clearly see him. And I think if this is okay with Alexei, he's going to attempt to take a swing. I don't think this is going to kill Leland by any means, but it's definitely going to be like an attempt to get him off of her.
Yeah, no, of course. Sports were never my friend, so it's a good way for my head to be hit.
Nice.
Okay, so yeah, he goes and he takes a swing that connects with the side of Leland's head, just to knock him away from her.
Sure.
Yeah, just like maybe up against one of the walls.
Okay. And Leland, are you unconscious, or are you just sort of dazed, or?
Which would you like me to be?
The scene's supposed to end badly for me, so I want to say that this shouldn't knock Leland out.
Oh,
okay.
Yep.
So yep.
Actually, I do have an idea, if that's all right.
Go, yeah.
The bat hits me on the side of the head and I fall to the ground. There's a bit of blood dripping down the face. Maybe from the impact. I mean, you're, I think, a strong person who's held a baseball bat in their life before. At some point, you might not remember it, but it feels good in the arms. But you hear me. You see Leland on the ground, and he's like still smiling despite the fact that there's like this trauma to his head, and he's whispering something really quietly, but I don't think you can hear it while standing up. I think you'd need to be a bit closer if you really wanted to hear what he's saying. Are you sure you want to?
Take the bait! Come on!
The bat's like in one hand, or rather into both hands, and he's like he wants to hear. He like leans over, trying to keep it ready, but he oversteps and like leans almost close enough for like Leland to just grab his collar,
Yeah,
or something like that.
Oh, Leland takes his hand and like puts it to the back of your head and like puts your forehead against his and looks you dead in the eyes, and you see his eyes just like looking through you, almost not looking at you, but looking into your soul, and you hear him say, "You are." I don't have the line in mind, damn it, but I think the gist of what he wants to say is, by familial blood, this will be transmitted. You're doomed.
Oh.
As I think one of the things that we defined is that we are family, undefined. And while I don't think Leland recognizes you, I think that which inhabits him might do so and might have a nice message to give you.
Yeah, and I think at the same time, when you touch him, I think John gets one of his visions that shows him that they were in fact brothers by blood, and maybe he in fact remembers his real name, or something that might give a hint to his real name. If you're all right with it, I think he realizes he sees a scene from their childhood, something where they had lived in. I guess you got to tell me a little bit more about Leland. Is he from Manna? Is he from this town?
I don't think so. No, I think he is from the Northwest. somewhere. I think
Fair
maybe
enough, then.
a smaller town there.
Twin Peaks.
Something like
No, I'm
that.
sorry. Sorry, go
Yeah,
ahead.
so then,
Continue.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm entirely open to if you have a good idea, because American geography confuses me massively. No, I'm sorry.
it's okay. I am from the Northwest, so I know a bit more. So yeah, he remembers their time growing up in, well, let's say Oregon.
Oregon. Yes.
And it flashes back in his mind when he hears Leland calling out to them. They're like kids at this time, maybe like 9 or 10. And he hears his name being called. He hears Leland shouting, "Russell, Russell, where are you?" Like they're playing in the forest. They're playing hide and seek. And he remembers his name, Russell Blackburn. And like almost in shock, remembering like having, or at least that part of his name coming back to him, he like stumbles backwards. He drops the bat on the floor, and he says, I know you, Leland."
And Leland, I think, closes his eyes for a moment. And I part of me wants to say no and ask if you want to end the scene there. But would you like Leland to be back as it is your scene, or would you like this to end?
Well, this has to end badly for me, so I think, I think ultimately you've got to decide whether or not Leland is back or something else that is not Leland.
Oh, yeah. You know what? You feel him. How about this? As he opens his eyes again, and he's still smiling a little bit, you feel something being placed in your pocket.
Mm-hmm.
I think, yeah.
He steps back and like has a look to try to see what it was.
You see that it's a small. It's like a small necklace. It's a small necklace. Yeah.
All right. Well, scene. We know how it
I
ended.
guess-
Dark Dice has
Yeah.
been decide and that. So let's keep it moving on. We've crossed the 8 o'clock mark. So I know. Again, I know we want to do stuff. We got to try to tighten up time frame just a little bit on some of the scenes. So this brings us to Alexei, man of the hour so far. Let's your scene. Again, remember, guys, stories aren't nonlinear. You can jump in the past, you can go forward, whatever you want to do with it. It's completely cool. We've done a great job with it so far.
Cool. Could I actually throw out a question to Jason? I'm assuming my character is going to die at some point or another quite soon. I mean, they've already taken a blow to the head. I'm sure a bullet is going to follow quite soon. Would you like it to be this round or the next round, if that is what's going to happen?
If you want to do a confrontation between our two characters now, I would be completely up for doing it now. And then that gives me a little bit more freedom of what to do with my next scene as well.
Absolutely, yeah. And if you did want to commit violence, I'm all good with that.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Jessica says, "Finish him." You know what? You know what? May I say, like, can I give you a suggestion and ask you lot to frame it? I thought maybe there could be a scene that attracts you to the location where I am trashing the crap out of my hotel room, screaming, "No, no! Like, I won't let you. You can't do this. You can't do this." Something like that.
Okay.
Now, if not,
can I ask you? I need to just ask you one quick question. What all did I pull out of the trash? What was there?
What was there? The gloves were not there.
Okay.
The jacket still was. It's a bit too small for Leland.
Gotcha.
But you also found you found the sleeve of a record. It looks like the records. It looks like it was torn, as if it was taken back in a hurry. But you definitely find the sleeve of the record that you as I assume you want to find. If there's anything else you wanted to find in there, I'm totally happy to just throw it in.
Did I get the knife? Because that would be, I think, the true damning piece of.
You know what? Sure.
Thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So the knife is in there. So I think what's happening, you're in there trashing the room. And again, if you're okay with it, I'm going to burst in. It's later at night again because I took the time to get the warrant. I'm coming for the arrest at this point. I have all the persons needed and we'll resolve accordingly. So it's
nice. Nice.
But before that, before he drove off, he went back to his room just to get something, and he found the note that was under the door. So if you're all right, again, I'm not trying to step all over your scene, but
no, that's what I want.
Yeah, okay. So it starts out with Copper going to the room. He looks at the note under the floor, and his face kind of goes white. He walks over, and he has sort of a like just one of those file keeper things, like the leather ones that zip up and all that. He opens it up, and you see there are about 20 of these handwritten notes. But all of them are slightly different from one another, and he holds it up. The penmanship is roughly the same. It looks relatively same. The casing of the letters, everything looks the same, and he sort of slips it in there, zips it up, goes back. Again, quick montage. He's at the office, turns in. You see him turn in evidence. You see him waiting for a thing. You see a judge basically sign off on a piece of paper and hand it to him, and he takes off like a shot. We come back to the hotel. He pulls the car up, full squealing tires, screeching, hops out, produces his pistol, heads to Herbert's room, and literally kicks in the door. Where we see Herbert.
You see Herbert clutching his head with one hand. He's lost a shoe. The other one has gone through the glass that's just shattered in like the spiderwebby cracks. There's a few punch holes in the wall. You see his knuckles are bleeding. There's blood still dripping from his head wound. I'm guessing somehow the scene resolved. He got back into his room, I'm guessing, from the previous scene. And you see that on the bed there's a snapped in half vinyl records that is that has Twilight Time on like a little label, and he's in the middle of screaming, no, I won't do it, I don't want to, I won't, no, I can't. All
right, at that point, freeze.
He
Leland
hears
Blackburn, put your hands over your head. You're under the arrest for the murder of June Alexander, also known as Dana, or not Dana, I'm sorry, as Annette Doyle. I'm sorry, you're under arrest for the murder of Annette Doyle, also known as June Alexander. Too many notes. Put your hands on your head.
You see him like turn, his back is towards you, and you see his shoulders sort of heaving as if, you don't know, like he's crying, laughing, something like this, and you hear this like quiet chuckle as the hands slowly come.
Oh no, Alexei, you froze. Okay.
He turns, smiling at you. And,
it's the same look. It's the same goddamn look.
Forrest, it's been a long time, my friend.
Oh. I just realized.
Frank?
No, not Frank, but you killed him all the same. You'll kill this one too, I'm sure, because if you don't, she's going to be in the same casket as everyone else I've put there.
Not this time. I've learned from my mistakes. I know I can't kill, apparently. The only way is to lock you up and to send you away for a long time. So get down on the floor. Get down!
And he smiles at you and starts to take a step towards you.
And even almost without it, don't do it! Don't do it! Don't do it!
And you hear him saying, as he takes like another slow step forward, he says, "You can kill him, but you'll never get me."
Bam, bam, bam. Even before he finishes. Again, about 5 shots ring out. He doesn't quite empty everything. Copper is a rather proficient marksman.
2 through the eyes and 2 through the nostrils?
Not quite that bad. I'm just going to say one went like kind of right in between the middle of the head, and the rest were all sort of chest. He did 4 in the chest and then raised up and put the final one in.
Absolutely. Could I quickly tell you what is in the room in case you are interested?
Yeah. No, I was going to say he walks down to the bed. He sets down the arrest warrant. And when he sets down the arrest warrant, even though we saw it with a judge, there's a clear signature missing on the arrest warrant.
Oh, that's awesome.
So
I love that. Josh, in the room, I think you'd find a large suitcase, like almost like a box-like thing in one of the corners of the room, or maybe slid under the bed. You find a snapped record. You find on his body, like, you know, his identification and all of this, and inside also a letter that it seemed to have came to him some time ago, and it was from his partner. And it was like, the gist of it is, it's asking, "Where have you gone? I haven't heard from you in weeks. What's like, what has happened?" And the thing that you'll get out of this is the date is quite close to after you killed Frank Redding, as when that letter was sent. In the box, if you open it, you find that there is definitely some kind of like newly bought record player. You can find the receipt from actually one of the corner shops around the area.
Nice.
And a letters of another letter that pretty much says you're fired from your job because you haven't been showing up, that kind of thing. If there's anything else you want to find, you have free reign.
No, so what's great, so Copper runs over and he grabs the record player and he sort of wraps the cords around and he sets it down on the bed. He takes a look at the two letters. He looks behind him. Even though there's been gunshots, still no one's out of way. With the dexterity mentioned before that Copper has, he reaches into his coat. He pulls out the Zippo lighter. He clicks it open on his leg and flips it up the flame. He lights the pieces of paper. He looks over at the trash can and he throws the pieces of paper in there. He reaches into his coat where in the plastic bag is the bloodstained knife that was used in the murder of June Alexander, and carefully, just touching part of it with the fingers, puts it in Leland's hand and wraps his hand around the knife blade to look like that he was armed. He then wipes off where he had touched the blade with his fingers. And I think then, just then, as Herb and, as we now know, Russell Blackburn begin to converge along with other guests, and we can hear sirens coming down the road, and we'll just end the scene there.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Thank you for making it quick. In my demise. But may I ask, I leave it up if anybody wants to become possessed at any point. They're free to, if that's something you'd like to do.
Yeah.
I am a corpse.
Gotcha. Right. And again, you're not out of the game. Still operate in flashbacks.
Yep.
Still do that. But I think that is clearly a dark tie ending, if ever there was one.
Hey, my first dark die.
Our first kill of the game. So, all right.
Oh,
so
boy.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Leland got the short end of the stick really fast.
Short end of the stick. I felt bad. I was really hoping to hold that off a little more to the end, but that's okay. It worked. No, it's fine. It's fine. I have other ideas. We're good. Trust me, we're good.
I'm glad.
So, all right. So our dice count currently, before we press on, Alexei's at 1 and 1. Collin is at 1 light, 2 dark. The one who it's looking pretty good for, Ilkka, is at 3 light, 1 dark, and I'm at 1 and 1. And we have 2 light, 3 dark left in the game. So it now goes to my scene. I'm going to set up I'm just going to set up and do a really quick scene. If you guys want to make it dark for me, I'm completely on board with it. It's basically him having words with the judge, and I'm just going to do this sort of flashback so we can move the story along. Gives the judge all the evidence. They found Leland's fingerprints on the knife. They found the clothing. They pulled prints from June Alexander. I'm sorry, from Annette Doyle off of the jacket, so we know that she was the one who when she touched his wrist, when he touched her, she touched the jacket, so her prints were on a couple of places. So there's no thing. It's a slam dunk. The judge signs off on it, but the district attorney also needed to sign off it, and unfortunately, the district attorney was not going to be available to the morning, and he lets him know that. So he says, you'll have to wait to sign off on it in the morning. It didn't sit well with Copper at all. He takes the warrant and goes running. running out and heads into the car, which then led us to the scene. And I'm going to end my scene there so we can continue moving along with the plot. I know I don't get to, but I say that ended bad for me because clearly I acted without the authority to act.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I'll go for that. You can assign yourself a dark die there.
Yeah, that's what I said. That's completely what all that scene was about. So again, we'll just breeze through that so we can keep going. Okay, we have 4 dice left. 2 good endings, 2 bad endings. So let's go accordingly, and we're back to the top. Herb, what you up to? Do you want to resolve, or do you want to set up?
Because it's such a I noticed that where I was left off was at the door with the piece of broken glass on my hand. So it's for me it's kind of a tough thing to see where this is going. So I'm just gonna go for a light ending for myself, and I'll let you guys set up that.
Okay, I think the scene is clearly Herb went there to do sort of a protector business, that he had to watch out for her. But I think when you got there, Leland wasn't in the room. And I think maybe you just saw Dana sort of in her element. She was watching TV, sitting on the bed, sort of kicking her feet, kind of just happily in there. Maybe she had a book open on the nightstand too. And because Herbert likes to watch, he gets to drink in a lot of the details, and it's just sort of he talked himself out of needing to do anything. Here is a woman completely at peace and in tranquility, and she clearly doesn't seem to have a care in the world, and why should Herb? You know, he'll do what I was asked. If somebody comes near the room, he'll say something. Maybe he'll do something, but, you know, maybe you overreacted a little bit. You got the word from the voices, and maybe you're pondering a little bit about the yes-no, you know, because that was a little tricky. So I would say that would be the setup for the scene, is you looking in at her, and then you can do whatever you want to from there. But anybody have any other ideas, please? I'm not finite, a finite word, so.
I mean, I'm okay with whatever happens.
Yeah. Do you speak to her at all? Maybe she gives you some kind of reassurance as to, you know, feeling quite safe, especially that, like, if she knows you or somebody else, maybe just so you have, like, you know, the word of assurance your character is feeling more centered, something like that. But yeah.
So I think that's great. So the scene will be you speaking to Dana, and ultimately what we're trying to get at is she's okay. She's all right. So who would like to be Dana? We need a Dana, clearly.
If somebody else would like to.
Alexei, no. Alexei, I'm fine with Alexei being Dana.
Okay, so at 1:30 a.m., Herb rushes over to the door of room number 12, knocks frantically on it. He's holding a makeshift weapon on his right arm, and he's clearly agitated and waiting for someone to answer.
You hear for a moment like a pause. The TV gets muted. There's a few footsteps, and you see like somebody right up by the door looking through the eye hole, and then you hear like a happier sound, because I'm sure they don't see your like glass shank that you have in one hand from the eye hole. And the door opens, and you see Dana, and she looks very happy to see you. I mean, you've known each other to some degree, I'm guessing, and she greets you warmly, and her eyes haven't yet went down to see what's in your hand.
So I'm just going to put my hand behind my back, really not suspicious at all, and say, "Hi, I'm sorry. I thought I heard something. Are you okay?"
She smiles and says, "You know, it's so kind of you to come check on me. I know things have been, I mean, everyone's having trouble sleeping after what's happening. I had a nightmare. I'll be honest. I had an and I know there's someone in the room with me, and I yelled out, but I mean, you can't blame... Who can blame anyone for a bad dream nowadays, especially with what happened in just a few rooms down? I just thought I'd watch some TV, but I have to tell you...
Can I make one interjecting note?
Yes, sir.
I think maybe Dana has the bat in her hand. Let's introduce that into that.
Sure.
We know she's got the bat then, so when later it happens,
so this is like the
makes
flash.
sense it's there.
Back.
Yeah. It's a little preview of this is in the room and in play, by the way. So
she leans it by the door when she sees you, and you like see it, and she's like, I'm so on edge. I'm so sorry, but I have to tell you, you're good people, the both of you. I can't tell you how glad I am and how much safer I feel being here. I can't imagine being alone and how difficult that would be. I'm just glad I have somebody who's here to make sure that everything's going to be okay.
Sure. You know, I'm right next door. So if ever you need anything, I'm just knock twice, and then have a little pause and knock twice again, and I'll come running.
She smiles, and says, "Of course, you'll be the first one to know. That officer second, the agent second."
And her blushes and looks at his feet and says, "Well, I guess this is good night. Good night then."
Good night, Herbert. Thank you for checking up on me. I'll see you in the morning. Okay, maybe we can grab some breakfast. I'm sure the hotel won't be in flames at all.
Of course, there's a hotel breakfast here.
Of course, they serve breakfast at the hotel. You're learning the rules of Fiasco. Make the universe fit your game, not the other way around.
Yeah.
And so Dana closes the door, and Herb just stands there for a minute, and slowly brings back the glass shank in his hand, and goes back to his room. Cracks open another beer, drinks it, then cracks open another one, drinks it, and he's fast asleep until he hears gunshots right next door.
Ooh.
So that's his scene.
Nice.
Okay. Thumbs up. There's no question that was one of the definitive light dice that we had left. So that was nothing but good. So yeah. Everybody on board with that? We're giving him the light die in this?
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Goodness.
Cool. All right. Collin, you are up, sir.
Mm-hmm. I think I want this scene to be set up.
Okay.
Because I'm going to have Russell Blackburn arriving at the scene of the shooting. We don't know what happened after he received the necklace from Leland. So shortly after Russell Blackburn hears the gunshots, which maybe he returns to his room in that time, regardless of where he came from, he arrives with everyone else. And I think he arrives just in time to see the scene that you set up, right? The knife to make it look like he was armed. He's like peering in. Maybe a bunch of guests are around him. He sees Herbert there, and he sees Agent Forrest, and he's like trying to like get a view into the room.
Sure. Actually, folks, stand back and points to you and motions you into the room. He welcomes you in. Come on, you're okay.
Yeah, he walks over and he says, "What happened? Leland attacked you?" And you notice he knows his name now, even though I don't think you ever told him Leland.
I didn't. I specifically didn't. I held that. So he kind of looks over and sort of narrows his gaze a little bit. But what happened? So I took evidence that I collected here. Found the knife that had Leland's prints on it. Found the leather jacket. Found the leather gloves. Not only were Leland's prints on it, but Annette's or June's prints were also on it as well. Managed to get the search warrant and managed to get the arrest warrant, and he stuffs it into his pocket. I came here to arrest him. And then he describes the scene almost accurately, with Leland saying what he was saying and in the middle of the room talking to himself. I produced my weapon, I leveled it on him, and when he turned around, he had the knife, so I had no choice. I had to kill him.
I'm sorry to hear that. But you can tell, like, Russell, although you don't know his name now, Russell is almost more saddened himself than he would expect you to be saddened. And he says, is the record player here? Maybe.
When you
looks around the room.
Yeah, it's on the bed currently.
He says, I just think maybe I could get a better idea of what happened. And he like goes over to like touch the record player.
And at that point, Copper grabs his hand. It's evidence right now. I can't have you touch it. Then your prints get on it, and you could be tied into this. I gotta wait for the boys at the lab to come down, and I'm sorry.
Right, of course.
There are several pieces of broken record around here. He stops and sighs. Well, and he pulls out a pair of gloves. Here, put these on, and fine.
Yeah, he puts on the gloves, and he goes to like touch the side of the record player. And I think he has a vision of the full scene. He sees Leland carry the record player in, wearing the leather jacket and biker gloves, perhaps to disguise his appearance, because I don't think that was how Leland dressed normally. Or maybe he was wearing them for some other reason. But nonetheless, Annette Doyle recognizes him. She says, well, what are you doing here? And he plays out the entire scene as we've seen it, closing the purple curtains and the knife and the gun. And he realizes shortly after what's happening, because maybe he sees some sort of tell, but in the way that he's behaving, and he realizes that he's acting like a man possessed. And he said, as he comes to, Russell remembers or realizes that, he realizes that there is some sort of possession at work here. And he, like, in his other hand that he, like, still holding, like, in his pocket where the necklace is. And he thinks about it for a minute. And he says, is there anything that ties this Leland to the past cases? He says to Agent Forrest.
No, the past cases were closed. Redding was definitively the killer. We were able to prove it was Redding. And he rambles off a laundry list of items and all that ties him to the scene. The only thing that Leland's would have been charged with and would have been arrested on is the murder of Annette Doyle.
I don't think Leland knew him, not Redding personally.
You know, if the case wasn't as open and shut as it was, if it wasn't his prints, he's there, it's him, he has the murder weapon, that would be one thing, and maybe we'd look a little more into the why, but every bit of evidence points that Leland was the one who killed Annette Doyle. It's solid, it's concrete, we have the warrant, I'm sorry it had to end this way, I really am. I didn't want to have to kill him.
I remembered something about him. He was my brother, and I think my real name is Russell Blackburn.
Oh, Russell, I'm sorry. I didn't know, and this wasn't anything personal. If I wasn't threatened, I'm sorry. And again, he puts his hand on your shoulder familiarly. I'm going to need to ask you some questions, so I'm going to ask that you have to stay at the hotel, but I'm going to have to wrap up and do a little
Of
bit
course.
of reporting myself here, answer some questions about this to some higher up. I know it's late now. Tell you what, can I come get you when I'm done here? Maybe I can find a private place where we can talk. And
Yes, I think that would be for the best.
okay,
I'll be in my room if you need me. Room 6.
room 6. Okay,
It's
great.
actually just next door. He points down the hall to the left. Or right, I guess.
Okay. Again, I'm sorry, but I'm glad you know. I'm very glad you know.
I know that much at least. I'll always have something to remember him by. Thank you, Agent Forrest. It's been good to work with you on this. And he hurriedly exits the room. He pushes back from the crowd and returns to his own room. And he pulls out the necklace. And I think at that point, wanting something to like remember Leland by for who he was, he doesn't like think twice about it, and he puts the necklace on. What does the necklace look like, by the way? If I could ask Alexei.
Of course, it's a small. It's a silver chain, with. It looks like this, like gold foiled, like little acorn thing. It looks like it's been cleaned, really meticulously, and yeah.
Yeah, he takes it and puts the necklace on, and I'm thinking, okay, I don't want to take the story into any strange direction too fast, but I'm thinking that the necklace is connected to it somehow. Because if his previous scene ended badly, then I think Russell putting on the necklace should be a bad thing. Now I set the scene up, so I don't really know if I should immediately declare that. But I like the idea of he puts the necklace on, and for one reason or another, and he can't quite place it, he finds himself standing by his window, staring down at the warped wood shed.
Ooh.
And I think that's where I want to put this scene ending.
Okay.
That is really cool.
Mhm.
All right. Alexei, you are... I'm sorry. Did that end good or did that end bad? I'm sorry. I know there was sort of an ominous bit to the end, but really for the most part, I still say, and I know you wanted dark, and it's not, but Alexei could... I'm torn. I'm going to keep my mouth shut. What do you guys think? I could see it both ways. I could see light because the bulk of the scene was, but the ending does have something foreboding in it and in
We seem
and
to
of
have
itself.
seem to have a light.
What do we have left?
We have one light dice and 2 dark dice are left at this point.
I don't mind either way, however you see it, really.
What do you guys think? I can go either way with it. I'm
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
look to you guys. You guys make the call, and I'll cast a second or a third vote.
I would go with the light one.
Light one.
This didn't have like it had an ominous ending, but it wasn't necessarily. It wasn't like determined into a dark place. So
I think I'm on the same boat. I did have an idea for the necklace, but I can expound it in my flashback scene.
Okay.
But I think for the most part, it feels light. I mean,
Feels
you had a
light,
nice
okay.
moment with the officer. Yeah,
Great.
the agent.
You said you had your own ideas for the necklace, or?
I did. Would you mind if I ran through in a flashback? Just, it's an idea of how it came to Leland, and you can turn it into whatever you like.
Sure.
Okay, so a light then is assigned. Okay, so where we stand, Alexei has 1 light, 2 dark. Collin, you're in the danger zone, man. 2 and 2.
I know. I'm leaning towards that anyway. I think you're getting the idea of what I'm thinking right now.
Ilka, you are 4 light and 1 die. June is busting out all over for you. It's good stuff. You're looking okay, and I'm still sitting at 1 and 1. Again, bad place to be. So, all right. So, Alexei, you are up,
Sure.
sir. Tell us about what Leland did in his last hours, or what Leland is doing beyond, or what the other thing is doing beyond. Do you want to set up, or do you want to resolve?
Gosh, actually, I was really hoping, could I quickly narrate how Leland got this necklace?
Absolutely.
And I wanted to ask, just because I did sort of jump to getting myself killed quite quickly, I'm a generally self-destructive player, as I've noticed. I don't want to steal whatever idea that Ilka, you had for our relationship. So after I quickly describe what happened to the necklace, would you mind framing a flashback of what went so sour between us? If that's all right.
That's great. Yeah, you absolutely. Yeah, okay. Well, we know it's going to end dark, so you might as well set up the scene.
Oh,
because we only have dark dice left. So yeah.
Yeah.
What's going to happen to me is going to be bad. What's going to happen to you is bad. So that's the way it is.
I mean, I'm not much worse you can get. I would think I will be turned wrong in that. Anyways, the coroner is sliding the body of Frank Redding into the morgue slot. The city has a bit of a mixed reputation maybe at around that time. It's a dark time for everyone, I think.
Sure.
And you see all of the possessions in bags strewn out across the counter, and the coroner looks, and he looks quite gaunt, he looks quite thin. And that necklace that's lying there in that bag, that can fetch a sum of money. No one would miss it. This man is dead. He's already been ruled guilty. There's not a piece of evidence. And I think the coroner pawns off that necklace. And we see that maybe a few weeks, a month, as it changes hands a few times. You see Leland coming in. You see he has flowers in one hand. It is the anniversary of his partner, and with him, and he purchases this necklace as something to give to them from whatever pawn shop is around. And as he holds it, as he comes to bring it, in the night, he's like thinking of how am I going to surprise them with this? He first hears, a voice in his head, and he cannot give up the necklace. He can't give it as a gift. And there's that scene of anniversary. He gives the flowers. He has some other nice thing, and he's about to give the necklace, but then he just slips it back into his pocket and holds onto it. And now it's changed hands. Also, Collin, if you had an idea and I've stepped over that, let me know and we can retcon anything. I just wanted to set up anything that you want to do.
No, I think that's close enough to what I was thinking anyway. If it's the same, cool. If it's the same, I think we're on the same wavelength here.
Okay,
hopefully,
fantastic. Ilka, maybe as I fall asleep, the night of that anniversary, this is before the point where I forgot it. I'm thinking about whatever happened between us, and in the dream, what happens? What do I remember?
So back in 1941, summer, we're kids. You are a couple of years older. You're maybe 15. I'm 12.
Yeah.
I'm hanging around with you, really trying to emulate you and be a little bit of a bigger guy. And you have different friends already, and you guys take me to this place. I'm following you on my bicycle, and we're in front of a big building, and you're telling me how this is a haunted building, and we're going inside, and I'm really, really excited about it. We're standing in this abandoned 1800s house that's been boarded up for a while, and you dare me to go to the basement.
Oh
And
no.
then you're like, you're chicken shit. You don't. And then finally, I'm going to say like, I'm not afraid. I'll show you. I'm going down there, and you close the basement door.
Leland got what was coming to him.
Oh.
And
And in the darkness, I hear a voice. And Jason, could you tell me what I'm hearing? I'm like, who's there? What's there?
Hold on 1 second. Let's make this. Hold on 1 second. Be right back.
ooh.
Oh,
Hey, Keegan.
we'll see what he.
Oh
we'll see
shit.
what he- we'll see what he
Turn on
does
some
when he
stuff.
comes back.
Ooh.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi,
How's it going, everybody?
Keegan and Teddy.
Oh
Nice.
dear. This is
Whoa.
He's
Oh,
changed his
hello.
outfit.
A spirit materializes and comes into being.
Oh.
He's wearing a black leather jacket and black leather gloves. Hey, boy. Hey, boy.
Oh.
They left you alone down here, didn't they? He left you all by yourself.
and this about this time Herbert is wetting himself. He's pushing against the wall, and he's like, who are you? I'm a
Oh, calm down. It's all right, son. It's all right. Let's just say I'm a being of mischief. I look for people who have holes inside them, and I crawl in there, and I take
Holes?
control. And when I have them, they do whatever I want. I'm real good at what I do. He looks down at your urine on the floor. He takes a good look in you, and it feels like he's looking almost in your soul. Let me guess. Your daddy hit you, didn't he?
do you know my daddy? How do you know him?
Oh, I don't know him. I just see it on you. I feel for
Mr.
people like you. Your friend just did a mean thing to you, didn't he? Your friend just did an awful thing to you, didn't he?
Yeah.
What say we make him pay it just a little bit for?
Yeah. Yeah. I like that.
Good. What's his name? Say it.
Leland. His name is Leland.
Leland what?
Blackburn.
Say it again.
Leland Blackburn.
Third time's a charm.
Leland Blackburn.
Leland Blackburn. Through familiar blood, I bind myself to you, Leland Blackburn. But not now. Oh, I've got some other people in mind now. But there'll come a time where Leland Blackburn pay the price for what he's done to you today. Now be a good boy. Get on out of here. Before
And,
it's so nice.
And I scram. I find a little basement window and I crawl through it, and I run home, and I never speak to Leland again.
Nice. Oh, that was so good.
Oh, well, that's definitely a dark
That's
dice
a dark
that we have
die,
to
yeah.
find.
What? That's so happy.
So happy.
We made a friend.
Happy. I mean, he definitely consigned Leland to eventually die. So I don't know. I think that's a dark dice if I've ever seen one. Plus, we don't have any else to give.
No, totally. I'm just kidding.
Okay. All right.
Oh.
So there's only one die left, and it's dark.
And the gasoline.
I have an idea for that. So before I set this up, Collin, I'm going to set up the scene. Collin, have you put on the necklace at this point?
Oh yeah, he put it on and then he looked out the window
Okay.
in his hotel room.
The scene begins with a montage. Again, very quick motion. Detectives questioning Detective Forrest, or Special Agent Forrest, or just Agent Forrest, I'm sorry. Them going over lots of people taking pictures of the body in the scene. We hear an investigator go, well, Forrest, you may have acted quickly, but bottom line, it was self-defense. And he takes a look at the warrant and he looks up. Copper, what did you do? And Copper just looks back at him and sort of sets a steely-eyed gaze to him. Listen, come by the station in the morning, but in the meanwhile, I need your badge and I need your gun. You're under investigation until we have a chance to talk further. You can't leave the hotel. You can't leave. Okay. Listen, there's a girl in room 12. Dana is. Don't worry. Yeah, we've read your report already, but we've got her. Can I just say goodbye to her before she goes? Yeah. Yeah, you can. Can I get somebody to be a Dana real quick?
Well, Alexei did so good last time.
Hello.
Yep.
So, very quickly, Dana's being escorted into a police car, and
Yep.
Agent Copper comes, wait, sort of gives a hi. He's like, I made you a promise at the start of this. I made you a promise that I'd get the man who did it. I got him. You're safe. Thank you so much for all your help.
She breathes this massive, massive sigh of relief. And she looks to you and she says, thank you. I have my... Thanks to you, thanks to him, I have my life back. I can't thank you enough for that. I thought it was over. I thought it was over. I can make plans for a life now. Thank you.
And he reaches forward and he gives her a hug and sort of squeezes her. You may hear some things about me coming up in the next couple days. I want you to remember me for the man I am now, and not what's going to come out here in the next couple. Everything I did was to protect you and to stop that monster.
And you see a tear come down her eye, and she says, I know. I know you did.
Okay. Very briefly, keep it moving along, keeping an eye on the time. He spots Herbert. He spots Herb on the way back. Herb!
What happened last night? I heard the gunshots.
Yep.
Tell me.
The killer was Leland, beyond a shadow of a doubt. I went to arrest him and to bring him in for questioning and to hold him until we got signature from the DA, but he was carrying a knife and he came towards me. He took a step, a very ominous step, and I had to do what I had to do.
I know.
I know you knew him, and I'm so sorry about it, but good news is he's not going to hurt anybody anymore. I think we cut it off right at the beginning this time. I don't think anything will continue.
You know, I asked. I went to the lodge and I asked. I know it was Leland.
I appreciate that.
we can't leave it like this. We should go to the lodge. They'll know what to do.
Tell you what, I'll meet you down there in 20. How about that? Let's let this place clean out a little bit first, and then we can go.
Sure. I'll meet you there.
Okay.
And Herb walks out.
Okay. And we see Herb go into the shed.
Yes.
The whole crowd is looking at the scene. No one notices this one man drift off and slip into the shed and go in there. Copper goes back to his room. The crowds have started to really thin out. Activity's been done. It's been a little while later. He stops and smiles, and he thinks about what really happened. He sort of shakes his head. There's a bottle of whiskey that he brings with him for his travels, which he keeps on the table. And he opens it up and he pours himself a drink and I'm going to need this. It's over. Takes a drink, puts it down. He goes to pick up his coat to turn to leave. It takes a couple of steps and the room begins to spin. And he begins to stagger a bit. And he falls back and collapses onto the bed. If it's all right with you, Collin, at this point you step out of the shadows.
Oh, okay.
And you're carrying something ominous.
Yeah, he steps out of the shadows with the 2-gallon can of gasoline, and he's whistling the tune as he does so, and then he sings. Where is it? I count the moments, darling, till you're here with me, together at last in twilight time. And he's like pouring the gasoline over.
Well, I would ask, rather than burn the body, torch the hotel.
Oh no, like all over the room. Not just over
good.
you.
Yeah, I didn't know if you were dousing my specific person.
Oh, sorry, I was about to.
Okay, no, great. You're dousing the room. Okay.
Yeah, he's the whole room, and he reaches into the agent's pocket and pulls out his own Zippo, and he lights it and tosses it down.
Okay, hang on 1 second. Please bear with me just one moment.
Oh boy. And there it is. I think I was slightly off on the key, but
that's okay. Oh, no, that doesn't matter. So
and Herb
I'm sorry?
Yeah, and Herb is on the Ouija board asking, is it over? And it says no.
We come out of the shed and we see Herb. Not only just said no, you stiffen your head up and you smell for a second, and you smell smoke. The camera pulls out, comes out of the shed, takes a look at the Manna Hotel. Flames beginning to engulf. We draw back from it. We see the sign for Manna Hotel. It has the words "no vacancy" on it. And as fire engulfs the building, there's a sputtering sound and the neon on the "no" burns out. And it just shows vacancy. And that is our fiasco. Okay.
Oh, man.
Now, very quickly, what we would do in this case, and what I need you to do now, we need dice or some form of dice rolling ability. What you're going to do is roll your light dice versus your dark dice, and I'll tell however many everybody's got, and then you'll subtract the two numbers away from each other. So let's say, for instance, I have 2 dark and a light. If I roll my 2 6-sided dice for my dark and get 9, I roll 1 6-sided dice for the light and get a 6. That would leave me with a dark 3 result. So calculate what you've got. So Alexei, you have 1 light and 3 dark. Okay. Collin, you have 2 and 2.
All right.
Ilkka, you have 4 light and 1 dark, and I have 1 and 2. So I'm getting there myself. Keep the results yourself, but then we'll go one by one and ask about what you got left.
So we want to roll these now?
Yes.
Light and dark?
Light and dark.
Okay. So what do each... Sorry, remind me what the numbers mean?
Oh, so these are the actual values. So you're rolling the dice. So for instance, I have 1 light side dice. I rolled a 3. I have 2 dark side dice. The total on those also came to 3. So I am left with a balance of 0. So I scored a 0.
So you want to total each one and then
subtract the higher from the lower, and that'll be what you're left with.
Okay. So... Okay, yeah. I've got it.
Do we start?
Yeah, absolutely. So let me start. Ilkka, what did you get?
6 light.
So you were left with a total of 6 white. So let me go to white 6. Weak. Hey, you're busted, beat, and broke down, but at least you learned a lesson about human greed and frailty, right? It'll serve you well in prison, which is probably where you're headed. Now, in this case, you're obviously not going to jail, but you've clearly learned something about this. So where do you wind up with that ending? What do we see happens to Herb as all this has gone down?
Of course, this means the end of the lodge. It can't be at the destroyed Manna hotel. So what happens is Herb moves to another town. He's trying to quit on drinking, but it's going rather poorly. And this one night he's sitting in a bar, looking a little bit desperate, when a stranger comes and sits next to him. Herb doesn't really usually strike up conversations with strangers, but he turns to the other guy, who just says, "Meep."
And that's where we end it with him. Awesome.
Yep.
So Herb is spreading the gospel still. We like it. So the math thing, we are a member of our lodge. We were the Divine Order of the Antelope, DOA, and we were a lodge committed to communicating with spirits. It didn't really have opportunity to come out, but that's why we're antelopes. So that's the sign.
I thought so.
It was good that, so it works. Okay. Collin, what did you get?
I ended with 2 light, surprisingly.
2 light. Merciless. You might not be dead on the outside, but you're sure as hell dead on the inside. I don't think we could have written that better. The emotional or mental wounds you have suffered will never heal. The future is a brick wall. So tell us, where does Russell Blackburn wind up?
Russell Blackburn, unfortunately, only having just regained his memory, is immediately consumed by this thing, this trickster entity. I think we see him in cuffs at the end of this, mentally just like distraught. They do catch him for the crime, but he's much like we saw Leland at the beginning. He's like breaking down. He can't like keep control of himself, and they're leading him away. But he's shouting about how this isn't going to keep him away forever.
Okay. My friend Alexei, what did you wind up with? We know how it ended for Leland, but we'll get one final glimpse into the soul and spirit of Leland.
Oh, I have a wonderful idea. So I rolled a very wonderful 2 on my light, and I rolled double 6s on my dark. So I have 10 dark total.
So here's the thing. Pretty good is your ending.
What?
All things considered, you're coming out of this smelling like a rose. You're a little better off. Maybe you got the girl, or maybe you just didn't get caught, which we know it isn't true. But maybe it's we're going to see what happens to Leland on the other side, and maybe it's
Are you sure
not
that's 10 dark and not 10 light?
That is black 10. Yep, black 10 is pretty good.
Wow.
When you, like I said, if you get more dice one way or the other, it usually winds up pretty okay for you.
You know,
Not what I was expecting.
I did have an idea, if that's all right.
Sure, absolutely.
You see like a pitch black room, and you hear the sound of running footsteps. And in whatever bizarre dreamscape this is, Leland is trying to run away from the man in the black brown leather jacket, who is chasing them. And I think the weird thing is, at the end of the scene, they run through and close a gate behind them, and the person is like grabbing through the gate, trying to grab at Leland, and Leland like stumbles back, his soul hopefully free of not Bob copyright trademark notwithstanding, and he
Of
looks
Robert.
at them and Robert, yes.
Yeah.
The screen fades to black with Leland like realizing that Robert cannot follow him,
Sure.
takes out his cheap cigarettes and offers him one through the crack in the grating.
Nice.
And takes a step back and
Bravo. Okay, and I got a 0, which is the worst thing in the universe. So
Oh, no.
I would go into the thing, but I think what will happen, I'll sign up. So the scene is, it starts out in a mental institution, and it's basically 1 year later sort of a thing. We see Russell in his cell, and he's sort of pacing. Russell, if it's okay, I'm going to do harm to you in this scene, just to sort of...
That's fine.
So a man in sort of an overcoat with a trench coat pulled out, but his hands look really badly burned, comes walking in. He shows a badge to a nurse who ushers him down. He looks into the room where Russell is. I figured it out. You told me from the beginning that it was spirits, but I didn't believe you. Well, congratulations. You've made a believer out of me. And you and now. I know about the necklace. I know about everything. No more transfers for you. Bye-bye. Bam, 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 bam. Cut to a very quick montage. A trial.
So-
This, that. Headlines. FBI agent claims murders committed by spirit. Blah, blah, blah. All that. The trial ends and he's found guilty, but is sent to that same mental institution by reasons of insanity for putting this theory out. And it truly comes out that he did believe that there was a spirit traveling from person to person. We find out that he doesn't play nice. He constantly tries to fight and buck and make people believe. And eventually they have no choice but to lobotomize the agent.
Oh, wow.
The final scene comes. He's sitting in his room, staring out a window. Sun is setting. Drool running down his face from the combination of not only the lobotomy with the drugs he's on. And a nurse comes in to give him his rounds. She feeds him his pills because he can't even function the motor function to do it himself. And she touches him on his shoulder the same familiar way that Copper was touching people on the shoulder, reassuring. She's, it's okay, hon. Everything's going to be fine. Don't you worry. She turns to leave the room. No. 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 Heavenly shades of night are falling. It's twilight time. And all of a sudden, motor function seems to come back, and he turns and smiles at the nurse.
Oh, God.
Out of the mist, I hear you calling. It's twilight time. And see?
Oh, man. That's really good.
That was Fiasco.